Greetings and salutations, folks. It's Saturday, the 9th of June, a little bit after 10 a.m. Central Time. It is Shooting the Breeze, of course. I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime and co-host this week, who come back from his reconnaissance mission that he was on.
Yeah.
That was a last-minute deal.
It is a last-minute deal.
Yeah. Almost left me hanging.
Yep.
Mr. Doctor Senju, good morning to you, sir.
Morning, evening, hello.
Whatever the hell it is.
Oh, fuck, hang on.
What?
Hang on. Okay, there you go. Okay, sorry. Okay. Hi, good evening. It's Mr. Doctor Senju back from the dead, I think, from reconnaissance mission. If some of you were following my tweet, it's actually just a reconnaissance mission of Korean barbecue field stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, basically I had to go to a family dinner, and the family dinner involves Korean food. So there's Korean barbecue, there's a mixture of honey lemon fried chicken. There's spicy fried chicken, there's some kimchi involved, there's also some what was it again? Yeah, there's some cheese there's some cheese kimbaps involved as well, and a lot of fun times and a lot of giggles, shits and giggles. And to top it all off, just about 3 hours ago, I had an open seafood meal. So
Jesus Christ, man.
So, if you guys are wondering why I'm missing for the past week, I have been filling my stomach up with food, and now I feel bloated.
You don't want to my sympathy diet now.
Oh, you don't want to say that too loudly. There might be some people that would get upset over that.
Why?
Adam, I love Adam. Adam knows.
I'm talking about bloated.
Oh, okay.
Talking about being bloated.
Oh,
okay.
And we're joined, as you can hear his voice in the background and his laughter, the fill-in co-host for last week, guest this week,
ta-da!
Biff Kensington III, who is recovering from an all-nighter.
Oh, okay.
How you doing, Biff?
Feliz Navidad. Woo! Feliz Navidad.
Are you all right?
Feliz Navidad, prospero año y felicidad. It's a glorious morning for celebration.
Celebration for your health. Celebration for your health, that is.
Well, not so much my health, but it was a fun night. The most fun you can have with your clothes on. I'm ecstatic. So
okay.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. We will start the show off with these 2 points that we need to bring up.
Sure, go ahead.
Thursday night, the Stanley Cup Finals came to an end. Which is a drag, the oldest continuous championship in all of professional sports.
Probably the best.
The Stanley Cup has been around since 1868. So, but yes, the Washington Capitals defeated the Las Vegas Golden Knights, an expansion team, which was the old creative team. Someone was saying from the old EA Sports NHL games.
Okay. Golden. What was it? Who was it again?
Las Vegas.
Okay.
Las Vegas Golden Knights, an expansion team that shocked the world. If you think about it. They were not expected to get to where they were.
Ah, okay.
And I see we have another surprise guest that walked in the door.
Well, folks, for those of you who don't know, tomorrow is actually Taker's birthday. And I decided to come in. Senju asked me to come in today. It's like, because I'm like, I wasn't sure if I'd be open on Sunday to doing anything, but tomorrow's Taker's birthday, so happy birthday, old man.
Yeah, that I am.
Happy 54th birthday.
Yes, I'm turning 54 tomorrow, people. Ladies and gentlemen, I am.
We're going to have to organize a happy birthday song here before we go too far.
No. You guys want to go into timeout? Go ahead and do that. I'll mute all your microphones.
Well, somebody's not getting birthday cake.
I don't need a birthday cake.
He doesn't need the birthday
I don't
cake.
need that cake, okay?
He doesn't.
Anyway, we were discussing the Capitals winning the Stanley Cup, which was a great thing. A new team, finally.
Okay.
Another new team gets to inscribe their name upon Lord Stanley's Cup for all eternity. It'll be there. It'll be on one of the rings that they remove.
And
the bottom ring is removed, or the top ring is removed. The bottom ring is where they put the names, and it moves its way up. And then when it's the top one, so it's going to be a good 30 years before it's removed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, that was the first point. What was the second point?
Last night.
Is it to celebrate your birthday again?
Nope. Last night, the NBA Finals came to a close.
Okay.
Yay.
Someone doesn't. Well, one person sounds too happy. The other person sounds not too happy.
The Golden State Warriors once again are your NBA champions.
Of course.
They swept LeBron and his corpses. The Corpse Cavaliers.
Okay.
And the world's greatest player, J.R. Smith. His wonderful.
J.R. Smith had the biggest brain fart in the first game that I've ever seen a professional basketball player ever have.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Throw up a little bit more, because I think it's going to be a gushing time for about 5 or 10 minutes right now.
I mean, how do you not know the score?
Dude, it's the fourth quarter. It's the fourth quarter of a game. Everybody's exhausted, and for whatever reason, they decided to leave J.R. Smith on the court for how long?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Let me just check. Oh my god. Okay, that was a long time. Okay.
But the thing that is nice is that The Miz earlier in the week was on First Take, stating that nobody, that there's never, he was told that teams that are down 3-0 have never come back to win the NBA Finals. They're 0-131. Well, they're 0-132 now.
Hey, Miz was right.
And Miz, without even thinking, said, "Well, they didn't have LeBron on their team."
Dude, LeBron is probably
which was. When you do that with Stephen A, Miz stepped off in it and didn't realize he had done it.
He didn't.
Because Stephen A. Smith looked at him and said, have you forgotten 2007 and the San Antonio Spurs? And Miz was all puffed up just as he sank back in a chair like, oh shit.
Oh shit, I did a boo-boo.
He sat there for like a minute or two, dead quiet. He couldn't say anything.
Yeah, because
we're dealing with it. That was the team that was led by Tim Duncan, who's probably one of the most underrated players in the NBA history at this point.
Yeah, Tim Duncan and David Robinson.
Yeah,
both of them were on that team.
In 2007? I thought Robinson retired in like the late 90s.
No, Duncan and Robinson played together for a few years. I'll have to look it up, but I believe.
But yeah. J.R. Smith was on the court for about 38 minutes.
He was trying to find out, you could see him in the lane waving to the bench like, we got a timeout. Well, he was asking questions.
Yeah.
Nobody was acknowledging him.
Only two people has longer minutes on than J.R. Smith at that time was Kevin Love and LeBron James, of course.
And LeBron James apparently injured his hand in that game.
Apparently.
After that game.
Probably from punching J.R. Smith.
No, he said he punched a whiteboard. One of the Brian race boards.
Yeah, that's code for J.R. Smith.
To me, that is nothing but a damn excuse as to why you failed.
Well, here's the best. Here's the kind of like a little bit of coincidental situation that I find. I just watched a clip on. Twitter when I was out, and there's this comedian who's comparing. Why am I not a fan of sports, and why am I a fan of wrestling? I know the reasoning being is that I know who will win the NBA Finals. It's either going to be the Golden State Warriors or the Cleveland Cavaliers. Golden State Warriors won. Do you know who won the title at WrestleMania 31?
I do.
Someone who is not in the card. Do you expect
they were not not someone that was originally in the match? No.
Yes. No.
Going to cash in.
Yes. And do you expect another team like, say, Miami Heat or something just going to interrupt the NBA Finals? Or, we're going to get this title now.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. The Money in the Bank contract for the NBA? I don't think so.
And imagine this. Do you imagine a player like LeBron James coming out as a member of Cleveland Cavaliers, then takes off his jersey, shows that he's a Golden State Warrior member, punches the shoots a hoop for the winning point, and takes a chair, folds it up, and hits the referee, and wears a snake around his neck? Do you imagine that?
Oh my God!
NDS, I need you to hold on for just a second, okay?
Sure.
Cavaliers, not Cavaliers. Cavaliers.
Well, that's what the person on the Twitter thing said. Cavaliers.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm going to strangle you over this thing if you keep saying Cavaliers. Let's say Cavaliers.
Cavaliers.
Motherfucker.
Look, it's not like we got Hubert H. Humpy Wheeler's name wrong or anything like that. That would be a committable sin offense execution.
Now there's a name from the past. There's a name.
I met Humpy Wheeler one time. Thank you very much. He shook my hand.
Humpy Wheeler is a god in NASCAR. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, sure, Biff. Write it on my check alongside Tommaso Ciampa for that matter, too.
Oh, you bastard.
I can tell we're in for a fun show today, and that's not even counting my sanity level today.
Uh-oh. Well,
it's 11.
At least you didn't come in laughing like Matt Hardy did, like Matt Hardy does last time you came on.
Well, he did actually.
Did you just compare me to Matt Hardy?
The woken Matt Hardy, yes.
Sure.
See, our plane is too heavy, folks, and so we're already, flying down into like the gutter, and the train is off the rails. The boat.
At least it's not as worse as how. At least it's not as worse as how do you imagine someone like me who's supposed to be saying something like, "Hello, Biff Kensington, how are you?"
Yes.
Dude, I think you should do that every time now. That's awesome.
No. Number one, people might get offended, and number two, my Japanese friends will laugh at me when I say that. That's not how you're supposed to say our name. My name is Takashi.
Dude, that's like the greatest narrator's voice ever. We should seriously have him narrate our Hall of Fame with that voice. That would be amazing.
I am not going to lie to you, Biff. When I first started doing this podcast, the very first show, I had never heard MDS's voice until the day we did the first show.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first question I said. I thought you were Japanese. He goes, "No, I'm Gaijin."
Roughly, yes, I am Gaijin.
So
moved here, lived here, and so people will. When I say I'm from Japan, the first thing that comes are "Oh,
that's the first thought that comes to everybody's mind is that because a lot of them speak that way,
Arigatou gozaimasu, onegashimasu. Ore wa Will-san.
You can speak the language fluently. You're lucky. You can speak both.
Yeah.
I should do the Hank Hill right here. So are you Chinese or are you Japanese?
At least I'm not butchering people's voice, like Biff Kensington, or
he's. You know what that voice almost sounds like, and I ain't gonna lie.
What?
Toshiro Mifune when he spoke English.
You're giving me the vapors right now. I'm just letting you know that.
That's it, isn't it, Biff?
You're giving me the vapors.
Okay.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have seriously gone off the tracks here.
At least, who doesn't really sound like how I speak it? Kazuchika Okada. You know why? Because he just lost the title at NJPW Dominion.
Suck it!
I know some of the people. Okay, I know some of us in this panel don't really watch NJPW. I know Taker hasn't. I know Fizz catches a little bit of NJPW. when he
Chris
can.
Jericho has offended the Mime Guild. The Mime Guild is coming for blood.
Yep.
Well, you just made the list.
It's either I think in that case it's either you're gonna be made into the list or you're gonna just go off on a tranquilo trip. Something like that. Which one's worse? Either you're going to go in a list or you're going to follow them to Tranquilo. So
well, not Naito. At least you don't have to worry about the factor of going on the Boat Cruise of Doom this coming Halloween this coming Halloween weekend.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, okay. Since Biff, you actually caught NJPW Dominion at about morning. I caught it in the evening. Yay me!
You bastard.
How do you feel about it?
Don't forget, Biff, this is the same guy who went to Wrestle Kingdom this year.
Oh, you rat bastard. God dang it.
You got one on him. You've got one on him. You went to WrestleMania, you some bitch.
Suck it.
WrestleMania and Wrestle Kingdom 12 is equivalent to each other. The difference being is just it's only regional. One of them is on the west side, the other one's on the east side. So
whereas I went to a relaxing independent wrestling show, didn't have to deal with 50,000 pounds of crowds, or people from New Orleans, or voodoo curses, and
or samurai sumo combination of the both. So,
speaking of sumo, we all know, and Fizz, I'm sure you've heard,
Toshinoshin got promoted to Ozeki.
Yeah.
Yes. If he did, it would have been a travesty, damn it.
Yeah, I told you he's gonna get the Ozeki. No,
I did. I believe. I did. I thought it too, and I was really, really hoping for it. I was, politics, man, politics.
I know, but I think your confidence wavered on him when he got that first loss.
Yeah. It did a little.
But anyway,
and then frickin' Hakuho basically hands the Yusho over to Takuri, you little rotten bastard. Oh, I was mad. I was mad because you could see it. He does like in the middle of the ring. All of a sudden, okay, fine, push me out. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
His knees gave out during that last match there. He's been having foot problems the entire bash show. So, Kakuyuru actually has had the advantage on Hakuho the last 6 bash shows or so. What the ones that Hakuho has been a part of, Kakuyuru has actually beaten him a couple of times.
Hakuho can kiss my ass.
Okay, but okay. Anyway, just to bring it back to Dominion, Biff, what's your take on it? How do you tell us how do you really feel about the whole match?
Okay, I gotta be serious here. I can't joke because I'm naked, so I gotta be serious here.
Sure. Be serious while you're naked, sir.
Yeah, there you go. I was nervous about the show yesterday. I posted over at Cage Side my thoughts on this. I'll reiterate some of it here. I was excited for the show because everyone knew Okada and Omega. They have amazing chemistry. It's basically the Misawa Kawada matches of this decade, or Flair Steamboat, if you will. But I was nervous at the same time because I have been a very vocal critic of Okada's title reign. I think that it's gone on too long. They missed their window to put the belt on Naito. I think nobody has ever managed to convince me that it was the right call having Okada beat Naito at Wrestle Kingdom this year. And so, if Okada had gotten past Omega, you're looking at least 2 months, of more nothingness with the G1 going on. And that's not to disparage the G1. It's just Okada's not going to be really defending the title during the G1. The G1 kind of takes precedence there. And so we're probably looking at another 6 to 8 months before he's realistically having a shot at dropping that title again. That's just insanity. He's cleaned out his division multiple times over. There's nowhere else to go with Okada as champion. At this point, it's just Ghetto's vanity. So I was nervous going in. I was, preemptively preparing myself for the worst. But thank the lucky stars, my favorite wrestler in the world, he came through. And now it's okay to love Okada again because he's got a fresh new run to go on. He's got to get back to the promised land. You know, Omega holding that title. You know, I could see him going on and defending it at Wrestle Kingdom against either Ibushi, winning the G1, or maybe Naito. I mean, there's just so many possibilities here that it's really refreshing to see that in this one instance, New Japan got it right.
Okay.
So.
Mine is a little bit more rooted because when I went into Dominion, I heard a rumor that NJPW is trying to build Kazuchika Okada as the enduring champion, in a sense that they're trying to build him as one who's going to break every single record in NJPW books. Basically, like I said in on my Twitter feed, it was going to be a John Cena Nippon version. So it's going to be like that, but in a more centralized way, as if they wanted to just concentrate on Okada, which in WWE's case, they're using Brock Lesnar as that kind of beating stick to drop all the...
But the difference between what I'm gathering is what the difference is between Okada and Lesnar is that Okada is defending the title somewhat more than Brock Lesnar really is.
True. And I'm not going to draw parallels on that one because the whole rumor is that they're planning on doing that. And suddenly, when Omega won the title, I was pleasantly surprised. Number one, and number two, okay, so they're not going with the enduring champion because this is the guy who they built up around for about a year plus, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years even. I think, if you want to go beyond Wrestle Kingdom 11 with this kind of build.
Well, people were saying that he's been the champion for going on 2 years consecutive. You know, a solid 2 years, and 33 out of the last 35 months.
Yes. True.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Imagine that for a second. Imagine that amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, Brock Lesnar has been about the same. He lost it for what, 2 months to Goldberg?
Yeah, about 2.
And he had it for almost a year then.
Mm. Almost a year.
Now
But if you want to draw parallels, it's more how to say. I think the feel of Brock Lesnar holding the title for such a long time feels different on WWE soil. It's because we're oversaturated with the fact that Brock Lesnar is holding the title, and yet he's not appearing on our TV screens or on our laptop screens or our phone screens a lot of times. In contrast, there's not many pay-per-views on NJPW soil or on Japanese soil. Number one. And number two, every single time there's a pay-per-view or there's a wrestling match with NJPW involved, Okada is head, front, and center on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's rough to draw parallels on just that, but my only viewpoint is that they're trying to do NJPW is trying to do what WWE is trying to do. The only difference is that there's a lot of difference involved because when one has storyline booking alterations and all that, the other is doing the King's Road build kind of style.
Oh yeah, you talked about that way back.
Yeah. They're trying to build up the King's Road. They're trying to build the King's Road path storyline booking, and to a successful degree. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing overall, because if you can take Okada and say in Wrestle Kingdom 12, for example, and I was there, and have that really emotional mix-up where Naito came so close but didn't win the title, that's something different. Compare that to Brock Lesnar. Compare that to, say, Brock Lesnar holding the title now, and somehow, with the rumor has it that he's going to drop the title at SummerSlam. Sure, you can argue that there's a little bit of a difference, but I think the impact will be huge for WWE, for that matter, as well. Which is proven right now with Okada and Omega. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to I'm supposed to talk about every single card on the match quickly as possible, but I I think we just gush on the main event. That one, sure. The card was excellent
because there are some people out there that have not seen
Dominion yet. Yeah,
Dominion yet, so we've got to be careful on the spoilers.
Spoiler alert, guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry, spoiler.
I think that talking about the main event is fine because that's going to be the breaking news headline. That's going to be the thing that everybody's going to be knowing about. Watch the rest of the card. Watch the rest of the undercard. The other matches involved. But I think that the thing is involving New Japan right now is that they definitely seem to be going in a new direction. Now, the thing is that Seto Kaiba, my nickname for Inane, he decided to let somebody else be in charge of the wrestling operations. He decided to hire a guy who's Dutch to run the New Japan side of operations for their invasion into the American market. So this was a calculated maneuver by them going, okay, we've already established Okada. We have had him on this ginormous run. What New Japan needed to do in this situation was a couple things. First, they needed to bring back their traditionalist market. Now, they had lost a lot of their traditionalist wrestling fan market over the last 15 years or so, thanks to Inokiism, which was basically MMA fighters facing against professional wrestlers.
Yeah.
With Okada coming into the mix as their champion and Hiroshi Tanahashi, they brought back their traditional fan base into New Japan, and now they're doing sellouts again. Notice that. Now they needed to focus on their international market, and there's a little thing called All In coming up in September. New Japan, I think, is playing a strategy right now where they decided that they're going to have Omega as their champion, and I have a seething suspicion they might have the IWGP Heavyweight Championship defended at All In.
Yeah, because they lost, because their top guy, Okada, lost the title to Omega, yeah.
Yeah, and Okada is going to be on that show.
No, yeah, both Okada and Omega is going to be All In.
Yeah.
Well, why not have the rematch there?
That's what they're going to do.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I say this no disrespect to you guys, because trust me, I would love to have that match again. Honestly, I think that they're going to wait on Okada and Omega again, because this match was kind of billed as like the culmination of that story. You know, Omega finally won the series. It's the one mountain Okada couldn't climb. I don't think they're going to go back to that yet. That's a Wrestle Kingdom show. New Japan's not going to want to burn that match out this quickly.
That's in Japan.
Yeah, I'd agree on Biff on that one, because on one side, NJPW do not want to burn the whole Okada Omega rematch again. Okada Omega rematch on Western soil. They need to do. They want to do that as a main event on Wrestle Kingdom 13 next year, maybe. Who knows? But on the other side of the coin, Biff, let's not forget this is NJPW we're talking about. They can give out the title on a whim at any given point. Case in point, Switchblade Jay White took the title off from Kenny Omega.
Yeah, well, hindsight being 2020, I understand now why they did it, but I don't think Jay White was the right call. Now we can go down that rabbit hole if you want to, but I think, you know, what's more likely. Now, I'm not saying Omega won't defend the title at All In. It's possible that he could. I would have a serious problem with the IWGP Heavyweight Championship being defended and it not be the main event. You know, I think the main event right now is supposed to be Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis for the NWA title. And the IWGP title is, you know, probably the second most, if not the most prestigious title in the world right now. So put that aside for a second. I think what's more likely is you're going to see Kenny Omega's first title defense be against Cody Rhodes in San Francisco next month. I think that is a possibility at the Cow Palace. You could see that feud kind of be reignited here, and that might carry the company into the G1. And from there, I think you're going to figure out your Wrestle Kingdom plans pretty quick.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. I mean, there's not. I think, like Chris says, there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of possible options that NJPW can take right now because they're going on a different direction that they were used to. Because yeah, if they wanted to take the chance to let Okada get the title back in All In, if it means that there's going to be something better on the long run on the road ahead, then they will do it. It's in their company's nature to do that because they are. And I hate to make the comparison about when WWE shot their load too soon. NJPW can actually wait.
Oh, can they wait?
Yeah, and can they wait?
I mean, I think that right now, the one thing that we have to consider about All In is the most famous words in professional wrestling: card subject to change.
Yeah, that's
okay. There's only one match announced on All In so far, which is the Cody Magnus title match, NWA title match so far. Only one match sold so far. They've already sold out.
I just have a funny feeling on that match.
They're going to switch out Magnus for somebody else.
And no one that's going to get it is going to be Cody, and Dustin Other Rhodes holds the title.
No, I think
interesting point to ponder. But
well, that's even if Magnus gets to All In September with the belt.
Because there's a lot of things that can happen all the way up to September. For NWA, for that matter, too.
You think Corrigan's gonna do that?
Possibly.
Magnus is his boy.
It is. It is his boy. But
Aldis, I should say. Nick Aldis is his boy.
Yeah. But okay, I'll quickly wrap up on Dominion and this one. All of the matches are good. Some of the matches a little bit average. I know some of you guys, some of you people who are listening who actually watched Dominion kind of feel disappointed on one of the matches, but it happened. And NJPW apparently is sticking to their gun on the person. So, what's that?
Are we talking about the open weight title match here, or are we talking about the Intercontinental title? Because I've seen controversy for both.
Open weight, number one.
Okay, yeah, that one is going to be kind of uncomfortable to touch on a little bit. I do think we should talk about the Intercontinental title match because it's pretty relevant for Western fans of WWE because we have a new IWGP Intercontinental Champion, and he is very familiar to wrestling fans here in the States and all over the world, really. So
yeah, if you want, I don't want to spoil it for you guys who haven't.
No,
really
that's why we
it.
just talk about the main event because that's the main.
Yeah, but if you don't, I can see both sides of the coin on that one. Yeah, for some people say, some people will be disappointed because no, Naito, this is not the correct move for NJPW, and why? But on the other side, I'd say that that could lead to another card being put on the Cow Palace show in the United States.
Yep.
It could, but then again, like you said, and like Fizz said, there's a lot of things that can happen leading up to September. There's a lot of things that can happen.
That show in San Francisco has just got very interesting. The results of this show are really going to make it, a fascinating show to watch because I don't think you can undersell how important it is that a Westerner is now in charge of New Japan. That's a big deal. Even my limited knowledge of, the culture over there, that is a huge deal.
Of course, you don't have to look far. Just check out Sumo.
Yeah, I mean,
3 out of 4 of their biggest champs are Mongolians.
Well,
and but here, I told Taker this, and I will tell you this: the most that you can say about the culture is that when you put the time and when you put the work, and they acknowledge you for it, they'll respect you for it, and they'll just say, "Okay, you can do with it. You can do with it however you want." And that's the result they took. Okay, I'll respect you for that. And maybe because NJPW saw that, okay, even if it at his age, at his stage, he can actually still bring the whole thing to the picture. Yeah,
Well, think about it this way, Biff. In the second week of the sumo tournament that just ended, did you not hear the crowd reactions of Tochinoshin? Especially after the match he had where he was henkered really bad.
Oh yeah.
Okay. He has become beloved of everybody there. I mean, the announcers, the commentary teams were going bananas over him. Getting the 33 win, the 33rd win. And then his 34th and 35th. They were excited. They were ecstatic. Why? Because that's a man from a foreign country who's come in there, has put the work in, was severely injured, was back down to what, Makushita, Fizz?
Yeah.
And has worked his way in less than 6 months from Megashira 3 in January to an Ozeki going into July's tournament that's coming up.
It's also because of the fact that Toshinoshin wrestles what is compatibly known as an old school wrestling style of sumo wrestling. He is a traditional belt specialist.
Yes.
And that is a style of sumo that is very, very well liked by the traditional Japanese sumo fans.
Beloved by them.
Yeah.
That's true. But like I said, just if you guys haven't really watched Dominion, check it out. It's great. It's good, borderlining on great. The main events are excellent. I'd say there are two, possibly. I can argue as to two of those matches being match of the card for me for Dominion. But overall, there are some matches that are average. There are some matches that are good. But yeah, it's a fun match from start to finish. So check it out. Talking about All In as well. Do you know who's all out?
Let's see here. Danielle Peruzzo got signed by WWE, so she's out.
Oh yeah, that's true. Diana Peruzzo just got
Dixon
signed.
Newell's out.
John F. Kennedy's out, but he's been out for a couple decades.
Oh, you guys, please. The one biggest name that you had to know going into Chicago, he's out.
Yeah, it would be the guy that just finished up his court date / handicap match down at the Chicago law offices. That would be
CM Punk. Yes.
That would be CM Punk.
Yeah, and he actually won. He actually won the lawsuit.
Yeah, as he should have.
He should have, yeah. And he has come out to the media and says that he's out. He's not going to All In, even though he has a signing. He has a signing there, WrestleCon, I think, at Chicago. He's already spoken to the media publicly about this. He's out. He's done. He's done with professional wrestling. So,
okay.
He doesn't need the paycheck, so he can just do whatever he wants now. If he had lost the suit, he would have had to go because he would have needed the money. So, let's be honest here. That's why he came out when he did and said that.
I agree with that.
Okay,
I think regardless if he had won or lost the suit, I don't think he was all in.
Because he doesn't really commit to the whole thing when asked about it before the whole thing, and afterwards he's emphatic about how he's not all in. He's not going to be there. So. Sure.
And I trust him on his word here. I actually trust him on his word here. Unlike a lot of 99% of wrestlers that talk about, I'm not at this event. Well, actually, I am at this event. I really do think that Punk is being sincere in this particular instance.
Here's the thing, though, Fizz. We just talked about one person who we thought that might be done, but is actually not done in Chris Jericho. We thought that he's already going to be done with NJPW after Tetsuya Naito kicked his ass. And then I'm done with NJPW. No, I'm done. I don't want to be here. And then suddenly he comes out again and attacks Tetsuya Naito again.
He can't be any more there than he is now because he's holding a title. So
yeah, and even Punk said one very famous example for wrestling fans. When Terry Funk Jr. retired, he was 2 years old. Now he's about 30. Dory Funk. He was 2 years old. And he's still wrestling, even though now he's doing UFC. So,
well, Dory Funk is doing the occasional. Dory Funk Jr. is doing the occasional spot. He's not doing the full on
wrestles. But
no, he's not. I mean, come on now.
Well, no, the last match Dory from Junior had, he went Broadway. So
right, and that tells you something about a man at his age.
Freaking insane. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'd stick to Fizz about this being, I'll take CM Punk's word for the true gospel that it is. He's not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of those. He's doing that to dispel every single one of them who's still hoping that CM Punk is going to come back to WWE or just basically wrestling. He's not coming back.
I think he will maybe do one match like 5 years down the road, but that's basically, I think, the point for Punk is that he's focusing on outside interest in professional wrestling. He's focusing on his writing job. He's focusing on a lot of other stuff that he's doing. I think if Punk comes back to wrestling, not going to come back as a professional wrestler. He's going to come back as a promoter.
Probably so.
I can see that.
Sorry. You
continue.
Sorry. No, I was. You finish your thought, but I'm going to respectfully disagree. So you finish your thought, and I'll jump back in.
Well, here's the thing, Biff. To think about this for a second. Chicago is basically at this point the epicenter of what I consider to be the Donner Party territory of the year thus far in the Midwest. The only territory that is even remotely close to them in terms of Donner Party antics are the following: the New England territory, Florida, Texas, and surprisingly California has been quiet this year. And that's not even counting the international territories that have had a mixed bag of fortunes. Britain is now currently going into a vassal war between WWE, World of Sports, and everybody else. It's just like medieval times, only with less decapitations from Scottish claymores.
We just went from Donner Party to William Wallace. Do we need to elaborate what the Donner Party is? Because
a Donner Party is basically the terminology of what can go wrong will certainly go wrong, and it depends. It's based on incidents of PR disasters, personal injuries to performers, everything under the sun that is negative about the world of professional wrestling. That goes into the Donner Party, and the Donner Party was, for those of you who don't know their history, there was a legendary party in California that got lost in the winter that ended up having to resort to cannibalism to eat each other.
Yes.
Literally, they had to eat each other's feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is crazy in a sense. So, yeah.
And that's just
all because their guy decided to take a shortcut.
Yeah.
A shortcut that we've never actually seen, by the way. So, the guy that created the shortcut had never seen it. Lansford Hastings, you bastard. 200 years later, screw you, pal.
That's
I tend to agree with you on that, Fizz, because PWG has been awful quiet this year.
Well, that's because Super Dragon is faced against his greatest foe ever. That would be technology. Or modern technology in this case, or more specifically, how PayPal changed their policies on payments and said, you're not doing that, when they accidentally oversold a ton of tickets to one of their shows in spring, which then they had to go to a new venue. And then there's also the status of Reseda being up in the air at this point, whether or not it's going to be sold or if it's staying around as a wrestling venue, because I think he'll probably be the last person to leave, and they're literally going to have to drag him out of the venue kicking and screaming.
That's the old American Legion post, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep, the old American Legion post. But anyway,
and you know the funny thing about it, I lived in Reseda, and it was right around the corner for me, and I never knew that they were there.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
Back in the 80s.
Well, PWG didn't establish itself until I think like 2000, 2003. So it's like,
okay.
I think they were at smaller venues, and then they moved over to Reseda, which has become their permanent home / place that they cannot get Super Dragon to leave the place because he's tethered to his soul. But anyway, the Midwest territory has been an absolute fire of incompetent management and wrestlers doing really stupid things. And I think the thing is right now is that I feel as though that there's probably going to be some promotions changing hands over the next few years because of the levels of incompetence that, once again, the Chicago territory is showcasing. This should be a major market for independent wrestling, yet it constantly stubs its toe, trips over, and falls into a vat of acid. Seriously.
Wow.
They cannot seem to do anything remotely competent. I mean, look,
No, of course.
Simmer should be one of the best women's promotions in the United States, and yet they're still running in that godforsaken bingo hall that is the Berwyn Eagles Club. They're on their 100th show right now. Shine is constantly botched, over the years due to Shine interference and wrestlers doing the very same thing that their male peers are doing by, well, crowding the card with old legends that can't work anymore. AAW, constant disaster. Freelance, not professional enough. The rest of them, total disaster. Ian Rotten is the equivalent of the bubonic plague as a wrestling promoter. Booker, a godforsaken 4-year-old child and the son of a wrestling promoter who's doing the Dynamite Cup this year. Have you seen how disastrous your territory is lately, Midwest professional wrestling? Heck, and I count Ohio in this too. What a tire fire Ohio is. It's like they're burning Dunlop tires all the time over there in Ohio because you thought that Sammy Callahan apparently has good ideas. He does not. You guys losing Chris Hero to WWE developmental contracts has set your territory back about 50,000 years. Congratulations, you're back in the Stone Age. Nobody in wrestling right now in the Midwest is running anything particularly competently either because of their own mismanagement or because of horrific, horrible tragedy in the case of AIW, which lost one of their money mark promoters last year in Chandler Biggins.
Yes.
And their promoter almost died this year due to a horrible illness. It's like nothing is going right in this territory because it's a shame too, because as people have said in the independent wrestling community, Ohio's got a lot of talented wrestlers, but they're being completely hamstrung by incompetent and sadistic management and or their older peers having the brains of a moose doing incompetent things that have led to Donner Party antics, scandals, insanity around you. And I feel bad about it because I'm like literally next door to this territory in the Northeast. I live in Western New York and I see all these talented wrestlers and I go, God, guys, if you just had better promoters and better management, the Midwest scene could actually be as good as it was back in the 1960s and 70s. But right now, it's like one step away from success and one step away from falling on a landmine.
That promo, ladies and gentlemen, was brought to you by Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling, which can be heard here on YouTube. Check
that was an all Hall of Fame level rant there.
Biff, do you have a smoke?
It infuriates the heck out of me to see people who are in positions of power doing the most incompetent things imaginable. And I know full well that I'm not in a position of power or anything like that, and nor am I interested particularly because I know how toxic the wrestling environment can be. It's toxic. It's terrifying. It consumes even those who think that they're ready to deal with the consequences and the insanity and the vices that is professional wrestling. They have all these good visions and all these good ideas, but look what happens. You know, we've had all sorts of reports of psychological issues with professional wrestlers. We have no idea how bad the CTE epidemic is in independent wrestling. It's pretty bad, honestly, because a lot of wrestlers from the mid-2000s will attest to. They did a lot of spots involving their head and neck. I mean, there is some good news. Western New York finally seems to have gotten out of its misery and trying to launch itself out of a barrel over Niagara Falls, and they're actually doing good things in the world of wrestling. Eastern Canada seems to be climbing back up the ranks as a territory that wrestlers want to go to. California, as said, hasn't had as many disasters as they usually do. The Stoners are actually doing something right for once. Maybe it's because they're focusing their efforts on Chicago and trying to work out that territory. You know, but there's still like, see, here's the your saviors in the Chicago territory are a guy from Georgia who dyed his hair blonde and the Bucks. That's how bad and desperate your territory has become, that you're relying on the foreigners from Georgia and California to save your abysmal territory.
And what's even worse is that they're not even on the western states. They're mostly tethered to the eastern side of things.
What I'm waiting for to happen is this. Corrigan owns NWA. Okay. What's to stop him from trying to getting with some of these smaller regional promotions and starting up the territories once again?
I think the territories already exist, and I think that they're already doing interpromotional stuff. But the problem is that the disasters of one promotion usually spread over to the disasters of other.
Well, remember one of the biggest ones earlier this year was. Do I dare say his name?
What, you mean the Powerbomb TV disaster that happened in February during the month?
No. Back when all the sexual.
Okay.
His initials are ME, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it there.
Yeah, he's the least of the problems in the territory. Basically, he is the Canadian equivalent of Typhoid Mary spreading into already a disease-filled area that is just... Gosh, I watch these independent shows that stream on YouTube, and I go, why does your ring look like a pile of trash cans stitched together with garbage bags stapled on top? Why are your wrestlers doing all these insane, risky spots for what appears to be, the payday of a ham sandwich and a bag of peanuts? Why are all of these insanity things happening? And I know people have suggested the idea of unionization, and I go, did you have any idea just how badly unionization botched the automotive industry in this area? You're going to have a lot of people who are going to be very hesitant at the idea of unions because of, well, UAW is the shining example of unions and how unions can absolutely botch up something. Unless you have very specific wordings in registration, and even that doesn't really help half of the issues that are going on with the sexual assault issues, domestic violence issues. Unions don't really fix any of those problems unless you have specific wording and specific words and names that go with that. You have to have an established new code. If you're going to be writing up unions, you have to have established policies. Okay, this is what works here in professional wrestling, and this is how you write this up. And you have to have very specific legislation that covers professional wrestlers and professional wrestling as a whole. It's not just that you can copy a union draft from an automotive firm and try to paste it onto professional wrestling. In addition, you're going to have a lot of independent wrestlers who are not going to be really happy about the concept of having to pay union dues, which is where the paying your dues part of professional wrestling actually comes from. It's a union analog that's been somehow corrupted and twisted into the ether of the Chifulian landscape that is pro wrestling.
Like a plague of Justinian.
Yeah.
I can drop historical doomsday references too. I'm smart too.
Oy vey. Such big words from small people. But anyway.
What the hell?
But anyway, okay.
I should say such big words from young people.
Whoa, now, partner. Don't
no offense intended. No offense intended. And I don't think none should be taken because I know Fizz don't take any.
Well, I'll take it. Fuck you.
But okay, does that actually answer your question on whether Chicago is going to do something like that, or whether CM Punk is going to?
I think like I said, I think that Punk
or does Biff? Yeah, no. I was asking Biff. Does Biff have a counter, or does?
Well, yeah. This is the counter. I know we kind of dovetailed into a different topic, but I'll
Sure.
It's not my fault. Okay, Fizz is the one that went on the all. Let me address the idea that CM Punk is going to open up a promotion in Chicago, and he won't. That's not what I necessarily objected to. What I objected to is the idea that he's not wrestling again, because CM Punk. First of all, you can never say never, because the only shining paragon of virtue, outside of people that die and just can't wrestle again, the only paragon of virtue in the retired and mean it category has been Shawn Michaels. And even he is talking about one more match now. That's that. But put that aside. Here's why I think we need to consider Punk's going to wrestle again. CM Punk is a completionist. He's a perfectionist about his work. And CM Punk retired with full knowledge that he did not achieve what he wanted to achieve, and that was main event of WrestleMania. Now, I believe him when he says that he's not going back to WWE. He might go back 10 years from now for like a Hall of Fame induction or something, but
I don't see that happening.
I don't see them offering it. I think it's going to be a long time. It's going to be one of those Randy Savage type deals where people are constantly wondering when he's going in.
Or Bruno deal.
Or Bruno. I think he will go in eventually because everybody goes in eventually. Vince and Hunter, they find a way to repair bridges. Jeff Jarrett left on far worse terms than CM Punk did, in my opinion. But anyway, this is my argument.
Yeah.
Punk never got that one dream. The one dream he needed before he could retire. He's not going to get it at WrestleMania. But that energy, that drive is still within him. And I believe that the date you need to look for is January 4th, 2020. Because I believe, and this is...
Is that the day when his contract with UFC expires?
No. That is... I don't know when his contract expires. I think his contract expires sometime in December, but I could be wrong on that. I think, whether because he's fighting tonight, if memory serves. I think tonight's the UFC show, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Tonight might be his last UFC fight, especially if he loses. He's not going to get another one, and so he'll be 2 and done with UFC. He'll take some time off to recover. I believe that New Japan is going to pick up its biggest signing ever in 3 or 4 months. And when Daniel Bryan goes to New Japan, that's an official prediction from Biff Kensington.
I don't see it.
I do see it, and I can elaborate on that in a minute. But here's the deal.
Okay.
CM Punk is not going to have a shot at WrestleMania, but he could have a choice match at Wrestle Kingdom. And I think the combination of his unfinished business, his fighting desire, that spirit, that creative spirit in him, the freedom that New Japan would offer him, plus their expansion and the ability to stick it to WWE right as New Japan is starting to encroach on their territory. I don't see him wrestling this coming January, but I could very easily see CM Punk wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom 14. I really, really could. And I think, Daniel Bryan, I honestly think Bryan is gone. I don't think Bryan re-signs with WWE because I think Bryan is afraid to, which is the only reason it hasn't happened yet. That or he's, going Punk-ish and kind of trying to leverage himself a better deal. I think Bryan is afraid of re-signing because he's afraid that they'll pull the rug out from under him again. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's not for me to say. I have a personal opinion, but I can't live his life for him. I think Bryan's gone. And when he's gone, he's going to New Japan. Because it's an easier schedule, there's more creative freedom. The money is still good. He would be an immediate top figure. And I think CM Punk would follow him in. Not necessarily because of Bryan, but I just think that Punk would go in because the door would be open. And there's too much money to be left on the table. CM Punk has too much, integrity. Too much self-integrity, personal integrity. He's got too much of a chip on his shoulder not to take care of unfinished business. He can say that it doesn't bother him all he wants, but that is completely antithetical to every interview he ever gave while he was with the company. Yeah, people can change to a certain extent, but your personality, your character, but at this point in his life, that's not changing. You'll never convince me that it doesn't bother him. He never achieved that goal. He can't do it in WWE, and he doesn't want to do it. But that yearning desire in him is still there. That's why he's fighting UFC now. And I think that he is going to New Japan at some point, even if it's just a one-off. He will wrestle for New Japan at some point. Now whether he opens a promotion, I don't know. He might. I personally think the promotion is less likely than him wrestling another match because of the politics involved in running a wrestling show and how bitter he is over the politics in WWE. I honestly think that might have scared him off from ever doing his own company.
No.
But he could. I mean, he opened up an indie promotion. You know, I'm not saying he wouldn't.
Biff, he's already done that.
I'm talking about after.
No, you're not listening to me. CM Punk has already had his own independent promotion. It was Backyard Wrestling. That's how it started. They were making more money than the local indie shows at one point. The problem he had was his brother stole the money.
Yeah.
I recognize what I'm saying is there's a big difference between what he was doing before he got famous and what he would have to do with a more, like a major promotion, like a major regional promotion now. Like, I think the politics that would be involved in going from what was Backyard Wrestling to, a Ring of Honor level promotion, I think that is a more 50-50 proposition at this point. It's a big jump up. I'm not saying he's never done it because he has.
I can see him doing something like that, though. And let's say he puts together, hypothetically, let's toss some ideas to see if they stick to the wall here. Okay, I'm gonna throw some ideas out here. Let's say CM Punk decides to do that. All right, hypothetically. And the area he wants to cover, the states and area he wants to cover are this: Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri. The politics involved with being a central area, and it's, you look at the driving distances, not really all that far for any of them. Indianapolis is 300 miles away. St. Louis is 220 miles away. Madison's 200 miles from Chicago. Notice I didn't say Minnesota, Iowa, because he could come into Iowa, the eastern part, if he wants. He doesn't have to be Ring of Honor sized to start. You start small and you work up. That's how most of your independent promotions started. They were small and they worked their ways up.
Well, my only gripe is that would someone with CM Punk's personality, someone with Phil Brooks' personality, who goes all into doing something that he can, doing the best that he can, in something that he likes, and then when he moves on, he instantly forgets about the past and moves on to the next big thing. With something like that, with something like I feel like I haven't achieved much when I was in wrestling. Would that actually drive him to get back into wrestling again? Or would he just say, no, I am done with wrestling. I just want to focus on my next big thing. My next big thing now is MMA. And when I'm finished with MMA, maybe I'll do something else that does not involve either wrestling or MMA. Because let's face it, the guy is driven. The guy has the guy has almost a tunnel vision view of what he wants to do and whatnot.
That's why I say him being a promoter, and I agree with Biff, him being a promoter, his drive to be the best would shine.
Because I'll put this on a perspective into which I think we all can contemplate. I think we all can sit down and contemplate. As much as you like the life of a wrestler, where you travel around for 300+ days without break, 5 or 6 days a week for WWE for that matter, And when you're injured, you're injured. You're battling. When you're infected, you're battling infection. CM Punk battles a staph infection, eating bad food. Maybe if you want to go eat good food, that means you have to fork out your own pocket money for that and get your packets. If you're in WWE, if you're worse and you're an independent wrestling promotion, you're getting the cheap end of the stick for that matter. Now he's just I think in this sense of purpose, he and his wife April take turns cooking each other's breakfast every day. He's able to go to the store, buy his own groceries. He gets his fair share of stalkers and whatnot, right? He's chasing after and whatnot. All that. He doesn't really have to rely on old food. He's a regular at Cubs game, which is a dream come true for one of the baseball team's most diehard fans. And Phil Brooks, he's able to actually have something stable, something in his own words. I believe he said that he has a home base. I know it sounds strange to people, but it's something I never had. There's a lot more consistency. I could never get bored with it. That's quid pro quo what he says. Would that mindset actually make him go back to wrestling? With that kind of mindset, where
you just laid out the case for why I think New Japan is his option, and this is why. Okay. This is why.
Mhm.
Because he could do the Chris Jericho deal. He could work 5 or 6 days a year for New Japan because he's not going to be over. It's not like this is what a lot of people that may not be familiar with New Japan need to understand. Chris Jericho is working for New Japan right now, but he's not living in Japan. He flies over and he makes shots. He's made like 3 shots this year, and we're in almost getting towards the middle of June. Okay, so it's not like CM Punk working for New Japan means he's going to fly and live in Tokyo year round. He will probably, if he works, 5 or 6 shots a year and gets paid $150,000, $200,000, he can make 6 shots a year, and not all of those are matches either. 5 or 6 shots a year for a couple $100,000. He gets to live in Chicago. He doesn't have the stress of running his own promotion. He doesn't have that headache. Mm-hmm. And he can do whatever else he wants to do. If he wants to continue writing, if he has other side projects he wants to come up with, it's the perfect way for him to be active, to engage his passion without having to have a huge emotional investment. That's why New Japan was the choice and not Ring of Honor. If he went to Ring of Honor, it would be more of a full-time, this is my lifestyle commitment.
Mm-hmm.
If in New Japan, he can do the Jericho deal because they would certainly bring him in. And it would be so much easier on him. He could live that relaxed life. And he could stay in Chicago and still go to his Blackhawks games or his Cubs games, not miss a beat. That's the exact reason that New Japan is what came to mind, because it's a stress-free schedule, as stress-free as wrestling can be, I guess. But it's literally the easiest possible thing he could do and still keep his name out there. And that's why I think that it's much more likely he'll wrestle again before he promotes. That's just my opinion.
What do you think, Fizz? Fizz?
Oh, I had Fizz liquidated. Sorry, I forgot to tell y'all.
What do you think?
About what?
We've been talking about CM Punk and the possibility of him going to NJPW or starting his own promotion.
I think, like I said, the thing is in this situation is that we have to consider that there's possibly going to be a lot of promotions changing hands over the next couple years in the Chicago market. We don't know if AAW is going to be around in 5 years. We don't know if Shimmer is going to be around for much longer because there's been constant rumors that Dave Bizarre's looking to sell. And we also have the factors of the territory being, well, the Midwestern territory. As you might have noticed earlier, 20 minutes earlier, I just completely shot at that territory with howitzer.
Yes, you did.
Sure.
And I happen to live in that area.
They have feelings, asshole.
Go ahead.
Be nice, Biff.
Well, it's
love you, Fizz.
It's an old family saying that my family has. I don't suffer fools gladly, and the Midwestern territory is, well, the clowns running the show. They're out doing Wrestle Circus at this point as far as clown shows go.
It's scaring me away from wanting to go see the independent shows that comes here once a month.
I think those ones are fine. Those ones are probably run at least a little bit better.
SVW. I can't find anything on the internet about them. I'm looking. I can't find squat.
The good old independent wrestling. At least I got my tickets for the next indie show I'm going to a little early. Anyway, the idea of Punk running a wrestling promotion is I think he will likely be running one within the next 5 to 10 years here because if you're familiar with the cycle, I think that there's going to be yet another promoter die-off career pretty soon where a lot of promotions are going to be shuttering their doors or they're going to be under new management or there's going to be literal Highlander slayings happening amongst the backstage area where there can only be one. And I think that Punk is a solid, serviceable option as a wrestling promoter because he's got capital, he's got finances, he's got an ability to contact a lot of people who want to be on shows. And let's be honest here, the Chicago market, the city of anarchy, they need something stable at this point that isn't just the Cubs and or the Blackhawks constantly tripping over their own skates. Or the Bears.
Or the Bulls.
Or the Bulls. Yes.
Or don't forget the White Sox, but even though I don't really care about them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are they really a Chicago team? You know, I've always considered them. They represent the rest of Illinois.
Hey, they have a history of failure. They fit right in with the Bears and the Cubs.
and they fit right in with the damn Red Sox, too, for that matter. Don't forget.
Hey, how many World Series have we won this millennium?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long it's been.
Hey, take it, roll tide, motherfucker. Woo!
Yeah.
Well,
how long has it been since the
play
Sox
nice.
won, the Red Sox won their last one?
Guys, play nice. Play
nice. Naked.
How many Red Sox and or White Sox players have actually been banned by Major League Baseball?
Fizz, I'll kill you.
All three of you play nice. All three of you play nice. You're speaking to one non-baseball fan right here.
Anyway, I'm not sure. Here's an outside opportunity here.
Sure.
All Japan has had a lot of momentum recently. Jun Akiyama has been running the promotion since an acquisition, and he's been running.
He's doing good, actually.
He's doing really well. Recently, the last tie to old All Japan, Motoko Baba, passed away. So Jun is now free to do what he wants with the promotion. If I know CM Punk's Rebel Spirit better than a lot of people, he'll go to All Japan instead of New Japan because I feel like he feels if it's him, he feels
at home.
He'll feel at home in the Rebel promotion of All Japan.
Well, think about it. Phil Brooks, CM Punk was part of ECW at one time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Long before he came to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Before he went to Ohio Valley, he was part of ECW.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the whole story on the CM Punk. I guess, that's all the story that it is. I don't know whether, we'll just have to see. The only thing that is concrete now is that he's out. He's not going to come in to All In.
Yeah.
He's sure he has something to do on WrestleCon. He's just going to sign autographs. That's it.
Can I fantasy book something right quick?
Sure.
CM Punk representing All Japan versus Daniel Bryan representing New Japan in a cross-promotional dream match.
Well, Daniel Bryan's probably going to be representing CMLL. Because that's the promotion that's the most interested in signing Daniel Bryan thus far is that promotion.
CMLL, yeah.
That would be very fascinating.
And they're booking more outsiders. I mean, they are actually booking La Parca, known as LA Park, down in Mexico because he lost the trademark of his name, Ray Phoenix, and apparently they're trying to bring Pentagon Jr. involved in that promotion.
And that's a Lucha de Apuestas match, fatal four-way for the mask.
Yes, AAA is also doing a Lucha de Espadas match with the 4 individuals. With let's see, Park, Hijiro de Phasma, Pentagon, of course, and I'm not sure. Psycho Clown is the 4th person.
Okay,
yeah, Psycho Clown.
Oh, God.
And I don't see Pentagon losing his his
Title.
Mask.
Oh, mask. Okay.
So yeah, Lucha Libre has decided to take on the wackiness quota for the summer months, apparently. So that's fun.
That's
but
fun.
yeah, Daniel Bryan might be signing with CMLL instead of New Japan, just because of the fact that he wants to do that Panther match so badly.
He wants to do the what match so badly?
He wants to do a match with Blue Panther.
Ah, yes.
Why does he want to do match so badly with Blue Panther? I have no inkling
Blue
whatsoever.
Panther is one of the best 57-year-old wrestling in-ring workers in the country, in the sport right now.
Yeah,
He is.
I understand that.
What I would love to see, even though it's a shame that he's no longer with CMLL, he's now over in AAA, is Rush versus Daniel Bryan.
Wait, Rush is still with CMLL.
I saw something yesterday, or a couple days yesterday, and I saw Rush's name in a promo tape or on something on YouTube. And it was a promo of something for AAA, and they showed Rush.
Okay, the wackiness in Lucha Libre now continues into its insanity.
Well, Ultimo Maximo, or whatever the hell his name was, or Maximo, he's in AAA now.
Yeah, because both him and his brother, who was somebody else, he and the family decided to go Street Fighter on the Booker Ultimo Guerrero's car last year.
Yes.
And I wish I was understating that, but they literally did take a baseball bat to Ultimo Guerrero's powder blue Ford Mustang, 2017 edition, and beat it up with a baseball bat.
Okay.
And Nixon Newell has a new name. Her name is
Tegan
Knox.
And I have to make a comment on something that was in the chat. My wife said, Biff and TM, play nice, behave, or Mama's going to put you in timeout.
Ooh, see, you can't throw a softball at me like that because
Biff gets excited.
I'm her future illicit dance partner.
Just as you say that, right next to the guy that is his husband.
I'll take them both. I'm hardcore.
So you're the meat in the twisted sandwich that is TM and NO.
Well, I sure as hell ain't gonna be a power bottom. So.
And while these two plan on murdering each other at this point, let's see here. Money in the Bank.
Yeah, no. Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank.
We can talk about the portion that was raw.
He's going to scoot over Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank is next week.
Oh?
A week from Sunday, a week from tomorrow is Money in the Bank. We can talk about Money in the Bank next Saturday.
He's going to scoot
because I got the match listings out here. There's 10 matches so far.
Me too. Everything is set. Me too. Everything is set already.
They're not going to be doing anything different on Raw this next week. Maybe some minor changes to the card and the annual tradition of one person getting knocked out mysteriously by an unknown assailant.
I predict this though. On Raw, they're gonna paper every single crack with anything they can find. If they can fit a Nia Jax size hole with Nia Jax, they're gonna fit in right there. Okay, let's fix this before Money in the Bank. I don't really care what's going on.
Oh, good God!
Speaking of which, did anyone notice the whole thing with Ronda, Natty, and Nia?
Oh God!
And the backstage, and then this week. It came out that it was a course correction because Nia went too far the week before. They don't want Nia as a heel.
I think
what is Nia's alignment right now besides world's greatest invisible wrestler champion?
World's greatest invisible wrestler champion who doesn't know where she stands.
I mean, because it's Punch versus Nia. That's basically the match card thus far. It's for the Raw Women's Championship at Money in the Bank. It's Nia versus Punch, and on the other hand, we have a literal I guess would you call it a shoot murder of a princess of Staten Island versus a buzzsaw of death that is going to be Asuka.
Well, now I'm aroused. So thanks.
I mean, those two matches are going to be good.
Wait, Fizz, before that.
Mhm.
Were you aroused on Nia Jax versus Ronda Rousey? Is that it?
No.
No. To Biff.
I'm sorry. Repeat that again. I had the vapors. What?
You had the vapors on Jax versus Rousey?
No, I was referring to Carmella versus Asuka.
Good.
A literal shoot murder is about to happen in this particular match because it's Carmella and it's Asuka.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those two matches are going to be fun. I mean, I think the match I'm looking forward to the most so far, and the one I do hope that they do some more build on this upcoming Raw, the world's greatest match that will be on this pay-per-view, the beloved Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal.
Oh, go to hell.
I already live here, Biff. It's nice. It's comfortable. It's above 70 degrees.
Basically, any kind of heat that he gets actually heats up the place for about 2-3 months.
Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal is the boil on the buttocks of wrestling.
Boil in the buttocks of Biff Kensington, for that matter. I think.
No, I call that match the taint of professional wrestling.
Oh.
An unwashed taint, like going like 5 months without a wipe. Okay, it's like rancid and crusty and hairy.
And those of you that are not in the know of what a taint is, it taint the balls and it taint the asshole.
I mean, guys, it's just a singles match.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable
match. It's one match too many.
Roman Reigns isn't gonna get anything out of Jinder Mahal versus Roman Reigns.
It could be a 4-star match for all we know.
The hell it will.
And also, it faces off two of the greatest fan bases in professional wrestling right now. The Mahal fans. Hello. I'm a member of the Jinder Mahal fan base since 2011. Here's my card. And the Roman Reigns fan base, which is the equivalent of an Urukai horde rampaging across Middle Earth.
Can I see your spirit, please?
In Bangkok that aren't going to get screwed as hard as Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal are in Chicago.
At least it isn't Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass Part 2. Or Seth Rollins versus Dimes, or the great Bobby Lashley mauling Sami Zayn to death.
Son of a bitch.
There's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more that you should be upset. The lack of a build.
Part of the tire fire.
Yeah, I think so. I could say that.
Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan. It's part 2.
Oh wait. Forgot Fizz.
These matches, this entire card, with the exception of maybe the men's ladder, Money in the Bank ladder match, is garbage. Because that one, we all believe Strowman's going to win, but I don't believe, everybody's assuming that Strowman's going to win. I don't see it.
I'm not assuming that Strowman's going to win. This is actually one of the most open men's Money in the Bank ladder matches that they've had in a long time. They have a lot of individuals that could potentially win the briefcase. We have Strowman, who will use it as luggage. We have Balor, who I'm not sure what he's going to do with it, apart from possibly demonically possessing the thing.
Or just painting it over, yeah.
Who will probably mount it on his wall. Rusev, who will stare at the thing blankly for 365 days and not cash it in. Bobby Roode, who will attempt to bedazzle the dang thing to make it even more glorious. Kevin Owens, who will once again use it as a functional luggage. And or being John Cena in the back of the head with it on the wedding day.
Oh, okay.
Samoa Joe, who again will use it as luggage. Or the New Day, who will attempt to stuff as many pancakes as humanly possible into that thing to break a Guinness World Record.
You forgot one person.
Who?
The Miz.
I think we already have everyone.
Yeah, Miz will mount it on his wall. Because, again, it's the briefcase. It's like him and the briefcase are basically currently in a, he and the briefcase have...
He and the briefcase has an illicit affair with each other, and Maurice knows that.
Wait, does this mean I have a chance with Maurice?
Maurice knows that he's cheating on her with a briefcase, so there's no use on that one.
Maurice, call me. I'm here for you, sweetie.
She approved of the whole relationship, so There's no chance for you to hop in there.
And then we have the women's match, which I think is going to be really interesting to see. We have Team Sailor Moon, Sasha Banks and Ember Moon. We have Charlotte Flair and her increasingly hysterical facial expressions. Alexa Bliss, who is also here. Becky Lynch, who actually got a win this week on SmackDown against Charlotte. Yay, confetti!
Same win, same type of win as a year ago. And what did they do with Becky after that? Nothing.
I think they'll do something this time around.
I still say, turn her, give her the case, and have her start down the road of being the evil, maniacal heel.
I think
they can start collecting arms in her briefcase because it's a convenient form of luggage.
Yeah, she can become the Pentagon Junior of WWE.
No way.
Arms.
That's an image I did not need.
Wait. She's going to be the corporate Pentagon carrying a briefcase full of arms?
Yes.
That's not steampunk.
No, actually, that is very steampunk because, like, there's dark steampunk, whereas, like, mechanical machines and people replacing their limbs with cybernetic parts. That actually is very steampunk. Then we have Natalya, the kind of person that you could literally airdrop into a furry convention and cause everybody to flee out of the goddamn building. Then there is Lana, who is also here and has offended the art of the dance.
I've seen her naked.
And then, of course, Naomi, who is trying to avenge the art of dancing after the dance-off of death. Which, again, like most traditional dance-offs, ends with a brawl happening. Because if a dance-off doesn't end with people trying to stab each other with knives, it is not a true dance-off.
Wow.
Boy.
I'm excited about this card, guys. Can't you tell? I mean, we got AJ Styles and his increasingly higher-pitched voice versus Shinsuke Nakamura in a last man standing match for the WWE Championship.
At least
Did Paul Bearer just inhabit his corpse or something?
This is Fizz cutting promos on everybody. As stated earlier, ladies and gentlemen, all these promos by Fizz 14 Fitzpatrick are sponsored by Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling, which can be seen on YouTube, seen and heard on YouTube. Check your local listings.
Or basically, this is what happens when you podcast a little bit too much, like I always say.
Or you haven't podcasted in about 3 weeks.
I haven't broadcasted I did a show a couple weeks ago on Shooting the Breeze, and haven't done a Wacky World since the independent wrestling review show that I did that has currently 60 views on it. Congratulations for everybody who's watched, by the way, once again.
Awesome.
Thank you. Then we have the Visible Wrestler versus Punch, which is an enjoyable match that will happen. Literal Shoot Murder and Asuka versus Carmella. The match I'm looking forward to the most, of course, is Reigns versus Mahal, which will probably be a wonderful four-star affair. The Bludgeon Brothers, Harper and Rowan versus Gallows and Anderson will be a serviceable, solid tag match. Bobby Lashley, please murder Sami Zayn. Seth Rollins versus Dimes will be a solid affair, especially if Dimes actually wins the IC belt off of Rollins. And Daniel Bryan, please remove the limbs of Big Cass again.
There's a whole lot of piss breaks in this
Forgetting one other match.
Which
is the Raw Tag Team Championship match. Money in the Bank. The B Team.
The B Team. The B Team actually. Oh, I love the B Team. They're just so enjoyable. They're so enjoyably wacky because, like, they realized because apparently they saved all their money from being bodyguards of the Miz. This is the shocking factor is the Miz actually paid them, and not in string cheese either, which is surprising.
Well, it's not TNA.
Oh, wow.
TNA is actually doing pretty good this year, which is surprising.
I know, they upgraded from Easy Cheese to Kraft.
Whatever the Canadian equivalent of it is. I mean, apparently the Eldritch Abomination that is in their corporate offices has decided to pity them this year.
Kind of, in a sense, but go on.
I mean, they've had solid cards, solid matches. I mean, the traditional TNA curse of one of their key performers getting injured and Rosemary suffering a torn ACL happened again. But again, you have Young versus Alley having solid matches in the Knockouts division. You have the heavyweight championship, which is being contested by Pentagon and Aries. But again, it's the TNA heavyweight championship. It's not really a belt that's the focus of anything at this point, apart from being the source of all eldritch abomination evil at this point.
You know,
basically that title
on shop.
Basically this title has been the antithesis of the WWE Raw Universal Title Championship.
It's that belt actually shows up more often than the Beef Jerky Championship of Champions, sponsored by Jack Link's Beef Jerky.
The only problem is that it's never relevant. It's never the front and center, even though you posted it on a lot of times. It's just there. Hi guys, I'm here. I'm the TNA World Heavyweight Title. Guys, hello. Hello.
Oh, they're hanging out with the cool kid, that X Division Championship again.
Yeah, everybody's hanging out with the X Division champion.
Whoa! There is nothing cool about TNA. They are Poindexter with a pocket protector.
They're cooler than Ring of Honor at this point, and WWE is racing down the hill of insanity. Apart from the acquisition of Fox, you
just declared war on Ring of Honor fans. They're coming with pitchforks to murder you. I'm just letting you know that.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
You do know that you're speaking with Fizz, right? He's on a different plane of existence. That, or like I said, he hasn't really done podcast in about 3 weeks, and this is why podcast isn't for everybody. Side effects include sleepiness, drowsiness, lethargy, lactose intolerance, headaches, thick skin, dry mouth, red eyes, hunger, vitamin deficiency, cold turkey, insomnia, anger management, hyperactivity, low acid intake, muscular atrophy. Podcasting is not for everyone. Please consult your local doctor or your friendly neighborhood podcast doctors for consultation. Thank you.
Wow.
I give it a solid C-. It was okay, but it wasn't quite Fizz level there.
I mean,
No, I'm not.
Look at it this point.
That's a public service announcement. That's all that is.
That's a public service
Ring of Honor at this point right now is stuck with a bunch of serviceable B-grade New England workers and a bunch of old men that they got from the old folks' home.
Wow.
Have you seen the age of their current roster? It's like the median age right now is 47.
So no foreplay. We're just going to go right into the bending them over and giving them the business. Okay.
You know,
see how it is.
I'm waiting for the infamous Geritol on a pole match.
Well, Fizz will tell them where to stick it. So
they're continuing to book Matt Taven in matches, okay? That is how far their promotion has currently fallen. Ultimo Guerrero is a young spring chicken in their promotion at this point.
Oh, God. Sure. Wow.
This has been a very bitter episode. You notice that? Everybody's bitching. It's like, why can't we talk about something nice? Like,
Like what? You already spoken something nice, which is Dominion.
Well, my love life is nice right now.
I mean, I talked about how nice.
We don't need to discuss your love life, especially if she hears this. She'd be like, "What the hell are you doing that for?"
We did talk about nice things. I'm personally looking really forward to Money in the Bank because it's always that this is the kind of pay-per-view that will surprise you, honestly.
You just shit on the whole card and you're looking forward to it?
I am looking forward to it. There's actually a lot of good matches on this show. You got the men's Money in the Bank match, which I said is really a fun match. The women's Money in the Bank match, I said it was a fun match. I'm looking forward to Jax versus Rousey. I'm looking forward to Carmella versus Asuka. Styles versus Nakamura should be a great last man standing match. Reigns versus Mahal, like I said, will probably be a good match, and I know I'm banking on a lot of interest on that particular match. And the last 4 matches are actually pretty solid. Especially
this card is the debut of PJ Pringle.
I was just going to say, no, Styles, I don't want you. I just want to hurry your bars in my hand again.
And you also got Almas and Sin Cara on the pre-show, and they're actually doing a pretty solid feud right now.
Which is surprising for a pre-show. Which is surprising for a pre-show.
There is a small number of fans in the IWC that want Sin Cara to put the mask up and make this a Lucha de Apuestas match, and I'm sitting there going, he loses his mask. And I had the question I asked is this: what does Almas lose if he loses?
Beard. Hair.
And they're like, well, Lucha. Then they say, well, Lucha de they go a match with wagers is only for masks. I said, no, it's mask versus hair.
Yeah.
That's how it normally works out. Mask versus hair.
Uh-huh.
It's like I would love to have seen Rush get his head shaved.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's hair versus hair, mask versus mask, or mask versus hair.
Right.
Yeah. It's always going to be hair.
Mm-hmm.
As much as you want to joke about, no, it's mask versus pants or mask versus earrings or maybe mask versus Vega for that matter too. it's always going.
She's just so relieved right now that she's not stuck still in TNA with that Mexican American stable and with Artichoke and Hernandez.
Yeah.
And yes, I got Artichoke's name wrong, but then again, he's about as useful as an artichoke. So the ability in the land of TNA,
isn't that LAX or something?
No,
LAX.
Mexican America was a completely different stable that was conceived as sort of an alternative to LAX because LAX once again had their issues with the booking team, and this was their interpretation of Mexican America, which of course was a Russo idea. But again, when Vince Russo is the least of your problems in your promotion, you know that something has gone horrifically, horribly wrong. Because
at least they didn't use Mex America, which they had. Remember when it was? Oh God, I call him Dutch Mantel. I know it's not.
Zev Coulter and ADR.
Yes,
one of the most underrated alliances. I feel that was a missed opportunity.
It was. They blew it. The WWE totally blew that thing.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to with Money in the Bank. Despite my pessimism about some things, it's mainly because of the fact that I think that this card's actually going to be pretty solid.
Biff, is your mind blown? Has your mind blown yet?
Well, something's about to blow, but it's not my mind. It's the other end.
Uh-oh.
You better run.
No, let me. Fizz, I love you and I respect you, but let me correct a glaring, damning flaw here. In no universe, let me correct myself. There might be a universe out in the ether somewhere where Jinder Mahal and Roman Reigns have a good match, but it ain't fucking this one. This match is going to be a tire fire. The crowd is going to shit on it, and the crowd is going to have every right to.
Biff, you're gonna get mad at me. I'm raising my hand. I'm looking forward.
I'm looking forward to the crowd reactions, to be perfectly honest. To see Jinder Mahal getting face pops is going to be something.
From the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois, where they all love Roman Reigns.
This is going to be WrestleMania 34 levels of indifference on steroids.
Indifference? You're talking about a Chicago crowd. They're probably going to be pelting him with snowballs and/or hoagies.
Number one. Number two.
No, not hoagies. Not hoagies. It's Italian beef sandwiches.
Okay. There you go.
Well, it's better than these pizzas.
Okay. As much as I say to you is that I lowered my expectation on this one. I'm looking forward to watching.
Low expectations, like McDonald's at 4 a.m. expectations here.
Actually, McDonald's at 4 is actually quite good. Over here, that
is.
You
poor. Well, over there maybe. Over here, it's like Waffle House with a drunk chef.
I know. Yeah.
The McDonald's around here are actually really good.
We all killed MDS. Breathe, MDS. Remember to breathe. Problem.
Thank you.
I need water. So.
That ain't all you need, pal.
What do you think I need?
Taste? You're looking forward to Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
He needs therapy.
That's like saying you're looking forward to World War III because you want a campfire in your backyard that glows.
Here's the thing, though, Biff. Exactly.
Okay, then, ladies and gentlemen, some members of the audience here, people just want to watch the world burn.
Or see Jinder Mahal get a glorious babyface pop from an audience that loves him.
Let me remind you what Taker and I did when Jinder Mahal was champion. We sat and watched the world burn.
Let's set the whole story up.
Okay.
Okay, Biff, this was before you were part of Cage Side Seats.
This is before I was born.
You were born on Cage Side Seats, correct?
Yes, correct.
And Fizz can back me up on this. In the weeks leading up to the title match, Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton, I kept saying in the daily, pre-purge, that Jinder Mahal was going over. And the heat I got was insane.
As it should have been.
Yeah, true.
I had Vince McMahon level heat, okay? X-Pac heat.
More than X-Pac.
Every time I came in and said, good morning, immediately they would start saying, have you changed your mind yet? And I'm like, nope. And I would get grief. And I sat there and I took it. And then I believe it was Backlash happened.
Mm-hmm.
And Randy won the title. I came back that Monday morning.
Jinder won the title.
Won the title. I came back that Monday morning with my first words out of, not that I'm saying I told you so, but I'm going to sit here and watch this room burn to the ground. And I'm going to eat popcorn.
We were doing that.
That day was glorious.
He sat in the daily eating popcorn, watching the daily burn. I joined him in the nightly, eating popcorn, watching the world burn, and drinking salty tears of sadness and grieving from both channels.
Yep. And I, as the Jinder Mahal fan circa 2011, was sitting back drinking an RC Cola going, that possibly that result could potentially happen because wrestling is brown predictable. And Jinder won.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I was in the daily that particular week, but I was doing a drinking RC Cola and celebrating Jinder Mahal, our glorious World Heavyweight Champion.
Right, but you had seen all of the grief I had been getting up to it.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have gone in there and said the things if I didn't think I could handle it, because something deep down in my guts told me it was going to happen, and it did.
I blame you.
No, it's weird. It is weird. It is absolutely weird. Every time I have a gut feeling, a deep down gut feeling of something, it happens.
This is way
before gut feeling of me winning the lotto or something.
No, unfortunately,
it only works on a wrestling thing, I think.
Well, for fuck's sake, don't get a feeling about Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam.
No,
it actually is. That actually is going to happen.
No!
I think it's going to be a freeway match between Brock, Seth, and Roman, with Seth winning the belt and Roman then turning heel and then trying to literally decapitate Seth in half.
Ah, okay.
With a spear. Although in that case, it will basically be the Roman turns face in my mind because of my seething hatred of Seth Rollins.
Whoa! Wait a fucking minute!
Watch your language, Fizz.
Sorry, yeah, Fizz. No, Fizz. Watch your language, Fizz.
You watch your language, dude.
Fizz watches his language because
breathe.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait.
Take a deep breath and start over.
Wait a minute. What? Whoa. Okay, you literally just short-circuited me, Fizz. I'm not even kidding. Did you just say with a straight face you're a Jinder Mahal fan, but you hate Seth Rollins? What?
It's because of his outside the ring conduct that he had a few years ago. This has actually been one of my long-standing things for years that's been known about me, is Seth Rollins and Styles have been at the top two, and it's because of their outside conduct in the ring. In ring, Rollins has actually been doing a lot better this year of not having catastrophic accidents with wrestlers, not accidentally injuring Finn Balor, not accidentally injuring Sting, and doing spots which the agents should probably be crucified for because of the fact that, you're risking a 53-year-old man who's had spinal issues in the past and a guy who's wrestled on the Irish independent scene for 15 years, who has gone through every bump imaginable. There was actually a documentary that a British TV station did on Finn Balor, where he basically describes the number of injuries he's had. He's had like 3 separated shoulders, a couple times his kneecap has popped out because of all of the high-risk spots that he had to do on the Irish independent scene to get over with that audience. Now, Rollins is doing a lot better this year than he has in the past, probably because the PR agents are basically dangling him off the edge of the cliff and saying, if you mess up one more time, we're casting you into the fire. And he has responded in kind by actually having a really good year this year. He has had No issues, out of ring PR issues where either he has a vengeful ex-wife or, he's dating a person who had Nazi iconography on their wall. That's Seth Rollins. He just tries. He's an athletic individual. He's a solid wrestler. I do worry about his post-concussion issues, however, because again, my mother had to do therapy with people who had traumatic brain injuries, and every time she looks at him, she goes, "How is that guy in a wrestling ring?" And I think he's recovered nicely from the disasters of his 2015 World Heavyweight Championship run, where even you, Biff, will agree that was a total disaster of a run. And he's primed
to have, I won't either.
He's primed to have a decent run against the Steve Turkey Championship of Champions if he gets it, and if they do the things where they've been playing up this brother storyline with him and Roman, and Dean's set to possibly return at some point. So we might be having a very interesting main event of WrestleMania this upcoming year. And, my dislike of Seth or disdain for Seth is based on very logical reasons involving his character, of his PR mistakes that he made over the last few years and his in-ring issues that he has ironed out. I'm happy that he had a match with Finn where he didn't accidentally injure him. I'm happy that Finn took the time to try and get him to pace his wrestling style, because oftentimes he launches out of the ring like a cannonball and just does not stop. That's why I rate the Triple H Seth Rollins match at WrestleMania so highly, because he actually got Seth to slow down at points in time. But he's doing better. He's doing better this year. I don't think he's getting off of the out of the hate list this year, but that's because of the issues he had in the past. But he's doing well.
Okay. Can I unpack this a little bit for everybody?
Sure.
Okay.
Biff just got his head blown.
Well, I need to be candid for a second, because I don't want, and Fizz, I don't want you to take this personally. This is not a personal attack on you, and I preface that by saying, because I'm going to get very serious here for a second. I find the whole Seth injuring people argument very distasteful. I don't think nobody goes into a match with the intent of hurting someone. Very rarely. And Seth and Finn, that was a complete accident. So Sting himself has said it's a complete accident. It was unfortunate that those spots happened, but we're talking about a guy in Seth Rollins who has been injured, by other people's accidents too. Samoa Joe pulled him down the wrong way and twisted his knee, and it was an accident. It wasn't on purpose. There was no malicious intent. And so, if you want to hold that against him, that's your prerogative. But I don't like that argument. But let's back up a second. Seth Rollins, wrestling is a qualitative, subjective topic. If you don't like his matches, you don't like his matches. I'm not a huge Okada fan, and a lot of people say he's one of the best in the world. I think he's good. He's one of the best in the world. Yeah, I just don't care for Okada like a lot of people do. It's subjective. That's fine. I take umbrage a little bit with the fact that, Rollins, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth here, but you seem to imply that Rollins doesn't have a very good character. And I cannot more strongly disagree with that assertion, because Seth Rollins, for my money, is one of the strongest characters in WWE right now, because he's one of the few who have been given a long-term story arc that is playing out naturally. It is a natural evolution of a character arc that not many people have. Seth Rollins came into the company, the main roster. Let's set NXT and Florida Championship Wrestling aside. When he came to the main roster, he was with the Shield. And the Shield was all about justice. It was all about, taking their piece of the pie, because that was what was fair. They deserved to have that shot at glory. Well, then in 2014, Seth Rollins sees the shortcut. he sees a shortcut to glory. He sees a shortcut to the championship, to the prestige of being the Authority's centerpiece, and he takes it. He betrays his friends. He betrays his principles. He sells himself out because he wants the glory. He wants that success. And he eventually gets that success. He wins Money in the Bank. He goes on and cashes in at WrestleMania. And he has a championship run, which, you mentioned was a disaster. I disagree. It wasn't no great shakes, but it wasn't a disaster. I mean, he had several high-profile matches during that run, and it's been a lot more successful than Brock's championship runs have been, or Roman's. So, disaster, relatively speaking, is in the eye of the beholder. I don't think you could call it a disaster given what's happened after the fact. Be that as it may, Seth realized when the Authority betrayed him that all he did, all those sacrifices he made, were for naught. He basically gave himself up for nothing. He was used, abused, and spit out. He betrayed his friends. He betrayed himself. And in the end, it destroyed him. And so what does he do? Well, he vows to redeem himself. Not only to the fans, he redeemed himself to the Shield. He repairs the relationship through bitter tears and agony. And he has been working his way back up ever since, over the last two and a half years, to prove that not only, can he redeem himself and find himself again, but he could prove that he could do it the right way this time. And that's where this Intercontinental title run has been such a qualitative success. He's going out and proving that he doesn't have to take the shortcut. He can get it done by his own skill and his fighting spirit. He's going out and defending that title almost every other week in incredible matches. And, the match at WrestleMania was one of the best on the card. The match at the Greatest Royal Rumble was the best match on the card. He had the best match on the card at Backlash. This guy is going out week in and week out and proving that he is good enough to get it done on his own. He's not just proving it to the fans, he's proving it to himself. Yeah, that is classic storytelling 101. It is a redemptive arc told over 4 years. I don't see how you can say he doesn't have a character, because it's the only character in the company that has this much positive story investment.
Okay, Biff, I'm going to interject something here that I think you're missing. Okay, because Fizz said in the very early on statement about what was going on with Seth, that the last year to 18 months, if I'm not mistaken, Fizz, you said that Seth Rollins has improved greatly.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not so much the in-ring that is the issue with you. Granted, there were accidents where people got hurt. There's that always have that's a known thing that can go on in the ring. We all know that to be a fact. And look, Nia accidentally hurt Bailey. Okay, and everybody wanted to hang her. Everybody wanted to hang Sasha for accidentally injuring Paige and putting her out of wrestling for good. Okay, so there's other examples of it. But what he was saying, and I think I know what it boils down to, Fizz, is the out of the ring character. Out of the ring stuff.
Yeah, none of
the relationship he had with a particular female that went public because his either hers or his Instagram was hacked. Okay, that's what it boils down to, Viv. It's not the in-ring stuff that Fizz does not like. It's what's happened outside. Granted, it was pictures that got released that shouldn't have been released, but they were released by a hacker. But because of what she was wearing, it caused a lot of controversy with a lot of people.
Well, in the case of the Scriber incident, there was two parts. First, the hacks were actually done by Rollins' now ex-girlfriend, who was going to become his wife in a month's time. She discovered that the relationship was happening a month before their wedding was going to happen, so that was awkward. So she hacked their account, released the pictures publicly, and it was unfortunately a PR disaster on that end. The second part was discovered by a bunch of individuals perusing through Zara Scriber's Instagram account, and they found the Nazi iconography on there. Now, she has repented from that, and she has tried to recover from that since then. I believe she is back with WWE, not officially signed as of this point, but she is associated with several of the wrestlers there. Regarding Seth Rollins, it's not his character in the ring. In story, Seth Rollins has actually had one of the most solid story runs as far as a character is concerned in ring. It's the out of ring stuff that is my biggest concern with the guy. And I think that WWE PR and WWE creative management has told him out no uncertain terms, if you screw up again, we're going to depush you and we're going to kick you to the curb. And I think that Hunter's made that very clear to Rollins, and I think that the creative people have made that very clear to Rollins, and the public relations people are making this very clear to Rollins, because WWE is going through a lot of high-profile television deals at this point. They don't need a massive PR disaster happening. As far as his in-ring stuff, he's had a really fantastic in-ring year, but it's all those stuff that happened back then. And here's the thing. I don't think Seth Rollins is at fault for those accidents. Those were just pure accidents that happened. But it was on the agents and the creative team putting him in those positions where you know full well that these performers have had injury issues in the past, and you're having him do those spots where there is a risk of doing injury. Why do you have him doing a buckle bomb spot on a 53-year-old man? Why do you have him doing these high-risk air spots with a guy who you just put Universal Championship on that you know is injured? It's not on Seth. It's on the creative and the agents working the matches, not on Seth himself.
We need to back up just a second here, because I want to make sure that I'm understanding your point clearly.
Yeah.
I don't want to cast meaning that you're not trying to convey. So when you talk about these PR scandals, which first of all, I think they're a little overblown, because the pick release business, that was in and out of the news cycle in like 48 hours. That was not anywhere near as big a deal as the Page incident was. But are you suggesting that Seth Rollins should be blamed in some level because his picks were released without his consent? Is that what that's what it sounds like you're arguing? That he should be held culpable, for a character flaw because those pictures were released without his consent. That's what it came across as. And I want to be clear, is that what you're arguing, or are you trying to argue something different?
I'm arguing that he probably shouldn't have been taking the fit photos in the first place to begin with.
Full stop. Wait a minute. You lose me right there. Okay, I'm not trying to be making this a personal attack. Please don't take it as such.
Oh, I understand completely, Biff. What I'm saying.
That really reeks of victim blaming to me. To hold something against him that he didn't do. And it's the same. It's a completely different scenario with the girlfriend and whatever her personal beliefs are. I don't think that it's fair to hold what someone else does on Seth either. Okay, but I at least understand that as an argument. But the whole picture thing, Seth Rollins is not posting pictures of himself. If Seth Rollins released his photos to, Brazzers or whatever, then we've got a conversation, because he knowingly did something that was dumb for a PR perspective. What he does in the privacy of his bedroom, and I agree with you in the sense that he probably shouldn't have taken the photos. Agreed. That's a blanket statement for everybody in a technological age. Don't take nude photos of yourself if you're a celebrity, because they're going to get hacked. But there's no law against it. He didn't do anything wrong. And I find it problematic, if not troublesome, to hold him responsible for someone else's crime, because he was the victim of a crime. That was a literal crime. We're not just talking about a bad joke going wrong. He was the victim of a crime, whether anyone was charged over it or not. And I have a real problem blaming Seth for that, because if you're going to blame Seth for that, then keep your standards on the even here. You got to blame Paige for what happened to her. And if you blame Paige for what happened to her, you're on very dangerous ground with a very large segment of the population.
Okay,
So,
okay, Biff. I'm going to say this, and this is going to put an end to it all because this is becoming,
Mhm.
you know, this is becoming a dead horse.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm not blaming Seth for what happened, nor is anyone on this panel.
Mhm.
I'm not blaming Soraya Knight, aka Paige, for what happened. I'm not blaming Ashley Flair, aka Charlotte Flair, for what happened. However, those three names, they are superstars. Things like that, stuff of that nature, is best deleted. So someone, whether it's a hacker or an ex or a current or whatever, puts them out into the public with one intention only: to smear their name, to destroy them, because they feel they have been destroyed. I wouldn't doubt, and I'm not saying, I'm not accusing anybody, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised that Brad Maddox wasn't involved with the Soraya Knight thing.
it's a very strong possibility.
Okay, I'm not saying he is. I'm not accusing him. I'm questioning. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Ashley Flair's first husband wasn't somehow involved in the release of those photos.
Yeah.
But I'm not accusing him either.
Mhm.
I'm just making, it's questions.
Mhm.
Things have happened to these three individuals that shouldn't have happened.
Mhm.
And one of the problems is that it was, in the cloud, their cloud storage, which is easily hacked. It does not have the security that your home computer, that you can put on your own computer at home or on your cell phone, to keep that from happening. And the greatest security in the world is once you take them and send them, delete them and make sure the other person deletes them. It's a cheap thrill. Woohoo! He's got a hard on. So what? It's a cheap thrill. Get rid of the photos and then there's no issues with it. There will not be the PR issues. Okay? And that's the end of this subject because this is taking a very dark turn here.
Yep, I completely agree with what Taker's saying. That's the thing. The cloud is not safe. It's not safe to be doing these kind of things. And as a person who's extremely paranoid about safety, that's where the issue is right there for me. Not about anything about any person or anything out there. It's just that issue alone right there. When you're representing a company, you're representing the company.
Well, we're just going to have to strongly agree to disagree and move on.
And
Yeah.
it's all good, man.
It's all good. Biff, I'm not minimizing your points. Okay. I want you to understand that. Okay. Biff,
I'm here.
I said, I'm not minimizing what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from.
I know. I understand.
It's a sore subject with a lot of people.
Well,
Okay?
we stepped into a situation. I mean, because we stepped into a very serious topic that goes far beyond wrestling, really.
Yes,
So,
it all boils down to when you are in the public eye, and WWE superstars are in the public eye, and WWE is trying to maintain a PG type environment. X-rated photos getting released of their superstars is not something that they want. That is why WWE will come down so hard on them for it.
Can I pivot from this conversation to a less serious? Well, it's tangentially related, but it's less serious. I would like to get your opinion, everybody's.
Okay.
What would be considered the more grievous PR disaster in your eyes? Would you say what happened to, and let's include all three of the names that we just mentioned, because they all three had the same basic thing happen. They got hacked. The Charlotte situation, the Seth situation, and the Paige situation, loop that into one category. And in another category, you have Roman Reigns failing a drug test. Or any other superstar over the last couple of years in a position of prominence that failed a drug test. What are we looking at in terms of PR disaster being like the worst possible PR disaster? Because I would argue that it would almost be more scandalous and more of a PR issue for your top guy to fail a drug test. Personally, I don't know what your opinions are on that topic, but
okay. My opinion is this. Roman broke the rules. He knew better. He paid his penance and has been clean ever since. Okay? And yes, he has to wear that. Any superstar that has popped on a test has to wear it for the rest of the time they're with WWE. You know? And we look at Jinder. Okay? The way he's bulked up in the year and a half he was gone from WWE. Whether he was on the juice or not is irrelevant. He's come back clean on all his tests. So as far as I'm concerned, he's not. Despite the fact that he's got the acne issue showing up.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So, both of the situations we're talking about are different, but yet they have similar effects. Okay? Charlotte, Paige, Seth have to wear that moniker of having X-rated photos released to the public, X-rated photos, and in one case, videos released to the public about them. Which is harder to recover from? You can recover from the bad, dirty test a little easier than you can from that photos. Because if you look at younger guys, they're going to look at those people differently, especially the women. And what is one of the biggest things that drives us nuts when it comes to the women's roster and women's wrestling? They want to make them objects. They want them to still be sex objects. And somebody putting stuff out like that on Charlotte and Paige is accomplishing that, because you cannot look at them the same because of it. That's my opinion on it.
That it is really, this is a really difficult topic because
is it
you
fair?
Don't want to. Well, I was just about to say you don't want to say that Charlotte and Paige's leaks were worse than Seth's, because then it implies that you're holding the women to a different standard than the men, and it's a really uncomfortable area.
Okay.
No, I agree with you. It's definitely problematic.
Okay, but
now,
no, you're not understanding. You're missing one very, very important point.
I didn't.
Women. What is the predominant fan of WWE? Men. Males.
Okay.
Males. Yeah. Okay. Females, if they saw those pictures of Seth, probably had fun with it. Okay, I'm not saying that they're totally innocent, but the one I said, I don't know if Charlotte had videos. I do know that it came out that videos were released of Paige. Okay, which really put her in a real bad spot.
Yeah,
was it her fault? No. But she is a superstar with the company. I am almost certain of this, that they have a clause in their contract that states something along the lines that they have to maintain a certain level. What's the word I'm looking for?
Professionalism.
Not professionalism. It's another one.
I know
ethics.
Ethics.
They have to have a certain, of personal ethics. Just like the football players do, just like basketball players do, or anybody in a professional sport, or even in entertainment. Look at the scandals that have come out about actors and actresses that have done things to their personal assistants. Okay, I understand. I mean, it is something that is rampant right now in the country because of the ease of access of information. And the only way to protect oneself is to not save it. Delete it. Get rid of it. That'll protect everybody involved. Simple. I'm not saying what the hackers did was right. It's wrong. But to avoid something like that, the smart thing is get rid of the shit.
And I just want to clarify here. I just want to make sure I don't want anyone here to think that I was accusing them of saying that it was. I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying that you were arguing the opposite.
No,
okay.
I'm just giving my opinions on it. That's all.
Yeah.
And how I see things. And this is coming from a man who's going to be who's turning 54 tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Whose beliefs and stuff like that were a lot different 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Than they are today.
I think this boils down to an argument that goes much deeper or much more broadly than what we're focusing on here, and that's the expectations that we put on celebrities. And
exactly.
It ties into a much gentler offshoot of this. We were talking about Sasha Banks a couple of nights ago, and whether she is justified in turning down fans at the airport for autographs. You know, there's there's a certain expectation that we place on people that are famous. And in the wrestling context, we put a lot of, expectations on the performers because I guess some fans have a sense of entitlement that, they're the reason the wrestlers have a career. If there's no fans, there's no money. If there's no money, there's no wrestling, basically. I think that's the general gist of their argument.
Right.
And so there's like a certain expectation that these wrestlers, they have to be the characters they portray on TV 24/7. Whether that's through the extension of signing autographs or taking pictures or, whether we hold them to certain standards in their personal life. And I completely agree, with the ethics issue. There is something to be said about, your conduct. It's like, it's no different than if you were the representative of a major corporation. Just because you can do something in your private life doesn't mean that you should, because you're a representative of the company that you work for, especially in a public setting, which I understand that argument, and there's a lot of merit to that. I think where we might differ, or where we might, I think where my issue comes in is, do we place too much onto these performers? Are our expectations too high? Because, while we can talk about the issue from a pragmatic perspective, it's not a good idea to have this material. Should those expectations basically translate into, these people, Seth Rollins or a Roman Reigns or whoever, do they have to live, with this burden? Like, where is the line drawn where they can't just be like anyone else?
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's okay. Where I have the issue. It's where is that line? Because I feel like the line, we expect too much of them. We put too much on wrestlers.
Okay,
in both little ways and big ways.
I could talk from personal experience. Okay, this is back in the late 90s. I was living in Chicago at the time. I had moved from California back to Chicago for 18 months. I was working for a company. I was a store manager for a company, and my store was in Deerfield, Illinois. All right. The Berto Center was half a mile from my store. And for those of you that don't know, the Berto Center is where the Chicago Bulls train. They do. That's their training facility and their gym during the season. And a lot of my customers that would come in smoked. A lot of them were. It was a tobacco shop I ran, and Bulls players smoked cigars. They smoked cigarettes, and they were my customers. Okay. I treated them no different because I know who they are, but they put their pants on the same way. And I was, as I do. But the one thing they liked is I was always like that. And they always were like, thank you. I didn't ask for autographs. I didn't do anything. This is back when the Bulls, we had Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Steve Kerr, Luke Longley, the second three-peat. I dealt with these people. And they were no different than any of my other customers. But the biggest issue I had, and I used to get mad at people for this. Let's say Michael came into my store to buy some cigars, and he would go in, and he was coming in every week there for a while just to see what my selections of the week were. Because I would have manager's choice of the week of 2 different types of cigars in my walk-in humidor, where I had almost 200 different kinds of cigars. And Michael would come in every week and buy one of each. That told me he valued my choices. But what drove me nuts is that as soon as he would get out of his car and walk in, a crowd of people would form outside my shop, where no other customers could get in. I'd have to let him out the back door. The man couldn't even go to a store by himself and not be left alone. There is, unfortunately, in the public's eye, there is no line. They have no personal life. They're not allowed to have it. And that's what really upsets me. If you're going to a freaking airport at 2 o'clock in the morning to see Sasha Banks come off of an airplane and ask her for an autograph for a picture, she's got every right to tell you to F.O. and leave her alone. She is not in the mood. She's tired. She's a human being who is tired, has feelings, and wants space for herself. And all people need to do is give it, and they refuse to. And yet they go online and say, well, I saw Sasha, Sasha Banks was a bitch to me because, she wouldn't give me an autograph or sign. But if you check into the story deeper, they're at the airport at 2 o'clock in the frickin' morning waiting for her to come out of the plane. That's ridiculous. And I don't think anyone here would disagree with me. In the public's eyes, there is no line.
Yeah. And well, just to kind of support your point there, I think that the argument that people use when they try to attack performers like that is they say, well, without the fans, there is no performer. And that's backwards. See, it's not.
In a sense, it's true, but it's also not true.
Yeah, well, see, the wrestlers are providing a product. The fans are the customers. Okay, the wrestlers are providing a product that people can take or leave as they please. The onus is on the wrestlers to draw in fans. It's not that the wrestlers are beholden to the fans in the sense that what the fans say go. It's the wrestlers
Tell the
are.
Bryan fans that.
Say what?
Tell the Daniel Bryan fans that.
Oh Lord, that's
another topic for a show in itself.
That's a tree that I'm not prepared to climb. So, but it's like there's this misconception that the wrestlers owe the fans something. The wrestlers give the fans a product. That product, you can take it or leave it, but don't act like you are their taskmaster just because they're in a business, in live entertainment. It's like, it would be like fans of a TV show saying that Nathan Fillion has to be Malcolm Reynolds, wherever he goes because they really love Serenity or Firefly. It's like, or Luke or, Mark Hamill, he has to be Luke Skywalker because the fans bought tickets to the movie and they expect him to be Luke 24/7. It's like, you are
but
really off base with that. And not you, I mean the fans that
I know what you're saying, but Biff, this is what happens. This is exactly what happens.
Oh, I know, and it's going to be like this. I mean, we're essentially, we're talking about something that we wish could change, but we all know it's not.
Right.
And so that's where the question becomes, it's like, where is that line drawn where it's a reasonable expectation for you to conduct yourself a certain way versus, are they not allowed to have any personal life at all? And is there punishment to be had when their, personal life is invaded, whether it's at the airport for an autograph and Sasha basically tells someone in no uncertain terms to fuck off, or if someone gets something leaked, or if someone gets into a marital dispute? It's like, I just don't know. And I'm saying this, I don't know where the line should be drawn. The only thing I'm afraid of is that as fans, we are allowing the line to be pushed so far back that it's depriving the performers of any sense of normality. And I think that's wrong. And I think the onus is on the fans to step back and say, we can't put these people on a pedestal. We used to put baseball players in this country on a pedestal, and it came crashing down. It's like we need to get to a point as wrestling fans per capita where we look at the performer. We neither glorify them nor demonize them, but we look at them as human beings. And we're not there yet because wrestling as an art form is so larger than life. But it's just, I don't know where that line is drawn.
Fizz, I'm going to give you the last word on this, and then we're going to move on, because this subject is becoming something that we don't really want to. I don't really want to continue it any further. Nothing personal against you, Biff, but we can talk circles for hours on this. And I want your opinions on what was said by both of us.
I think at this point, the way I handle the line is I said, this is a philosophy that my dad has, and this is a philosophy that my mother has. We've met quite a few famous people in our lives. We treat people as people. That's what we always do. That's what we always have done with people that are celebrities. I did a butterflies one year for Hunter Hopes, which is a charity that is run by Jim Kelly, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. I did not care for an autograph. I just basically released a bunch of butterflies into the wild. And if you ever do any driving around Interstate 86 or so, around the southern tier area of Western New York, you will see hundreds upon hundreds of eastern tiger swallowtails, little yellow butterflies with black stripes on them. They have returned to their habitat and territory that they previously had to leave in the 60s due to all the gypsy moth sprayings, which devastated a lot of forested areas around the United States. I feel that this is a very good topic that I'm glad that we covered here today. It's been handled so professionally done by a lot of you. And I think that at this point, the stepping away from the idolization of professional wrestlers is an important key. I don't have a wrestler that I have a shrine of in my closet or anything like that. I don't play favorites. I have wrestlers I like. I have wrestlers I dislike. I have wrestlers I am indifferent to. And I have wrestlers that I despise/hate, depending on the terminology that you would like to use. I think that both of you have had really strong, good arguments and a proper debate, a proper, good debate about this field. And I think you're both in agreement that the obsessive compulsive disorder of wrestling fans wanting to be in the wrestlers' lives is something that is pure insanity, but is something that has gotten worse and worse over time since the dawn of Hollywood in the 1920s. Even back then, you would say the same equivalent of kings and queens, or people who were famous and became rich. That's the same thing that happened there. I think in the context of whether or not it's drugs or if it is sexual related things that happened, sex scandals, they're basically very similar to one another in that I think that where the line is drawn is if the person is your top person. If it's a person who's in the lower mid card or in the mid card or has your secondary title belt, I think it is less important. But when you have the ideology of trying to progress things forward in a positive direction and you're met with negative opposition and or sabotage by the opposition, and the people that you're trying to push are on the top of your card, or you're trying to do massive changes to a status quo, aka the women's division, that's where the trouble starts and ends. Where people want things to be the same, and it is absolutely ridiculous in my mind that they want to still be in the same miserable gutter that they want to be for decades. For whatever reason, there has just been such massive opposition by, as Biff alluded to, professional wrestling fans to change anything to get things out of the gutter, to have things be the same, to have things be in the same self-destructive cycle of repeated cycles of doom and destruction. I think that all four of us here on this panel, we all want massive change, but not just in words. The best change comes from actions. It does not come from people making grandiose, bold statements. It comes from actual actions that happen. And I really do hope that things change for the better in pro wrestling, because this has been an industry and this has been a fandom where I have found a lot of intellectual, intelligent people that I can interact with and have human conversations with about this grand world of professional wrestling that are really fun to have. And I feel that this conversation has been an extremely fun one, despite the serious subject matter that it is. And I really have appreciated Biff and Taker taking time to talk about this stuff today on Shooting the Breeze, because that's what it is. We're here to shoot the breeze. And this is something that is all near and dear to our hearts.
Well, naked to boot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, before we went on this, we were discussing Money in the Bank, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It was Money in the Bank's fault. That tire fire of a show got us all morose.
Do we want to discuss anything that has to do with NXT? Because I did not watch. Did you watch, Doc? MDS, are you here? Uh-oh.
Okay, here.
Uh-oh.
I am here. I'm here.
Okay. You've been
I was listening.
Yeah.
I was very quiet because, well,
Yes,
there's
obviously.
a lot of things on. Yeah. I mean, okay. The quickest thing I can say about NXT is that it was fun. It pushed everything you need to know about NXT forward to, well, TakeOver. So that's good. But I'll say this quickly for all of it because, well, as far as I'm listening anyway, as far as I can listen to about it anyways.
Okay, hold on. I'm sure you have an opinion on what we've been talking about, and I am remiss not to allow you to speak on it. So go ahead.
No worries. I mean, I think mine would be the shortest, I think. Because I think all three of you have said whatever needs to be said about the topic at hand. And all of you had articulated your points across very professionally, indeed. I mean, to me, I think the best thing is that, well, you have how you lead your life and how you choose to do your life is entirely up to you. Because, like I said, your feelings and your thoughts and opinions are all subjective. It has everything to do with you as an individual or a community or a society or a group, your moral conditioning, your religious beliefs, basically what might offend me may not offend you, and what may not offend you might offend me. So the whole thing about the subject is that you what you wanted to do with naked pictures and nude pictures is that you do you, I do me. It's just that when you choose to do that, you have to bear the consequences. Every single action has a reaction on the matter. If things go wrong, you have to own up to it. You have to take responsibility and do the correct course of action just to do that. Sure, yeah, people would say that. Well, it is my private. It is my private photos. Correct. It is your private. Whatever you do behind the four walls of your home, in the privacy of your own home, in the privacy of you and your loved ones, whatever you do there is entirely up to you, entirely up to your discretion. What happened to the whole thing was wrong. That's a breach of privacy. That's a total breach of privacy. That's a total breach. That's a total perverse action to intrude upon your own private space and private personal property. So, in a sense, yeah, you can say that some people should know better when you take photos of of yourself naked and then post it to your partner. Taker is correct. When you do that, immediately delete it. You can have shits and giggles, but immediately you get rid of it. You don't want it to bite your ass. Because the thing that I follow most is that whatever you do on the internet stays on the internet. No matter how much you want to bury it, it's going to be in the internet anyways. And that's the only thing I will say to it, because I'm going to end that. So,
yep.
Yeah. Is just like I already told you, be nice to each other, smile once in a while. That's it. So yeah.
You know, you've all have heard me. You all have seen me in the threads. Someone says something that can cause someone to be upset. And the rule I use, and I would love for everybody on the threads to use this rule as well, because it's very simple. If it would offend your mother, your grandmother, your sister, anybody that you are close to that you don't want to offend, when you're posting, use that as your guideline. If it would offend them, then don't post it. Very simple. That will avoid confrontations from someone being upset.
I mean, that's all there is to it.
You know, treat people the way you want to be treated. If you want to be respected, then show respect. If you don't want to be respected, then be a disrespectful ass. And you won't be around a lot of places long. That's my thoughts on that. And anybody that does hacking for a living, that does that, you know, hacks into people's personal stuff, are shit stains, as far as I'm concerned. They do not deserve any respect. They have no respect of mine. I will not give them the respect. It's just not worth it. They're not worth my time.
It doesn't. I mean, okay. Let's just reel back quickly to NXT.
Yes.
Okay. Considering that most of you do not watch it, I am the only one who watches this.
Well, I watched a little bit of the clips of it, and you know, my biggest hope right now at this point is that Candice murders both Tommaso and Johnny at this point.
With loaded brownies.
And cupcakes and muffins and Danish food.
Brings in a ringer and like Lars Sullivan or something and forces Tommaso and Johnny to work out their issues.
I'm going to bring up something here.
Sure, go ahead.
Because there are major rumors out there about Walter.
Okay.
Oh my God. I know exactly where you're going with this.
Because I put this to you yesterday and you about
shit his
pants. You got the vapors.
You got the vapors in the worst way.
Okay.
There are two matches that if Walter is signed to NXT and moves up to the main roster, there are two matches that must happen.
Okay.
The NXT one, first and foremost, the NXT one.
Lars Sullivan versus Walter?
Yes, Lars Sullivan versus Walter.
Just knew that.
Is there any what is it, the discussion? Because I threw that out in the daily yesterday. Boy, it got a lot of play.
Okay.
Is there anything that Walter cannot chop and break? No. Could you see Walter chopping Lars Sullivan's chest till it looks like Ivan Dragunov's chest? The answer is yes.
No, yeah.
Next match. Once he gets to the main roster, one match that must happen. Braun Strowman versus Walter.
All that got you the vapors, though, dude? Jeez.
Some of us like hoss fights, okay?
I know you like hoss fights.
Those are two very interesting matchups, but I'm interested in seeing. First and foremost, we have no idea if Walter is signed or not, and I generally, as I've stated beforehand, I do not believe rumors until they actually happen. We know that Keith Lee's signed. We know that is a definite because he's finishing up all his independent wrestling dates. With Walter, it's more of a question because he's the guy that actually runs WXW Training Academy. That's been the biggest question mark of if he wants to sign. Is he going to do NXT and is he going to do the main roster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll concede to that fact. It's a deliciously interesting proposition.
Those
Quite
matches
tasty.
would be serious hoss fights. It would be no different than Lars Sullivan versus Braun Strowman. That'll be a hoss fight if Lars ever makes the main roster.
Oh,
I think Lars is stalled right now. I think Lars is stalled in NXT.
A little bit. He's not stalled as in his development completely stopped. Whatever. It's just that I think at this point NXT has played a lot of its cards too soon and forgot about the lesser important people like Lars Sullivan. They already like I said, back in NXT, they're already starting to push TM61, formerly known as the TMDK or the Mighty Don't Kneel. So that's one. Suddenly they are starting to push Roderick Strong up better, even though I always say that this guy has the same level of Mr. Averageness as his one Adam Cole. But they're starting to put.
Oh, speaking of him, he's going to be over in Europe doing an Evolve show, I think.
Yeah.
The North American title.
Yes.
The opponent will be announced next Monday or this coming Monday.
Yeah.
People are speculating how cool it would be if it was Walter.
It's likely, however, going to probably be Austin Theory, a guy that they've been pushing heavily in Evolve.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't it be?
They're scouting. I think they're scouting. I think they're also scouting Austin Fury just to see how he meshes up against Roderick Strong, for that matter, too. I think so because that's a rumor that I got, anyways.
Yeah. But I mean, wouldn't that be a hell of a match to see Adam Cole selling for Walter?
You know what would be really interesting about that match? If Walter is in fact going to be signed, have Walter win the North American title and then debut as the North American champion coming into NXT. That would definitely get people talking.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, it would. This might get you the vapors, though, Biff. And this is purely, and I rarely jump in on the fantasy booking stuff, but I'm going to jump in on this one. What if Walter jumps to NJPW and faces off against one Minoru Suzuki?
I think Biff just
I'm about to make enemies for life out of some people here. You thought it was uncomfortable earlier. I'm about to launch a nuclear weapon here into this show.
Make it quick.
I'm not a fan of Minoru Suzuki.
Well, I'm not against that. I can see why. I can see why.
I think that his reputation is overblown.
Yep.
You know, it's fun to joke around about it, but I think that, you know, overall, he's not my cup of tea.
All right. Okay.
Stunned silence here on the show, guys.
No.
Well, considering that one of the people opposite is actually a really big fan of Minoru Suzuki, but that's because of the fact that he's an MMA guy that transitioned into pro wrestling, and I generally enjoy his antics.
Wow, you two have a lot of differences.
That's what makes us so good together. We're yin and yang. Or as I like to say, right and wrong. But
Oh,
it's a
please
joke,
play
it's
nice.
a
Please
joke.
nice.
It's a joke.
Play nice, Biff.
Or in this case, it's sanity versus insanity, and there really is a massive question as to which is which at this point.
I was gonna say, I think we both fall into the insanity category, but for completely different reasons. We're both pretty nuts, pal. We are the nuts in this here Almond Joy.
I scared the bejesus out of the Stan fans. That should tell you something about me. I scared the bejesus out of the Stan.
Here's the thing, though, Fizz. If you scare Chris and George, so much so that even Chris said that you go to the beat of your own drum.
Yep.
You're different.
Hey, I'll admit it right now. Fizz scares the shit out of me. So
all I gotta say to Biff for getting nervous about Fizz being around is NASCAR specifications.
Yeah,
1995. Biff, Fizz, go.
Ford Thunderbird, Chevy Monte Carlo, Pontiac Grand Prix. That was the old style until '96 when they debuted with the new style.
See what I mean?
You're fired. I'm firing you from everything.
Firing you from everything. Sure. But in any case, I mean, well, we've spent a lot of time talking. We spent a lot of time shooting the breeze, and well, look at it is.
And the thing about it was that we had a debate start, and
it got heated.
But the thing about it is nobody got offended.
Nobody got injured. Nobody got injured.
No one was offended.
And nobody got injured.
And nobody was, injured. Nobody was attacked personally.
And we all kind of agreed on the same principles in the end. It wasn't really a debate so much as a spirited discussion there at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's a spirited discussion.
And, as said by Fizz and by both Fizz and by MDS, that we were eloquent in our use of the English language.
Well, Biff needs to pay up because he did cardinal sin. $1 in the tip jar.
What?
F-bomb tip. F-bomb fine.
Oh, next time I'll replace the F-bomb with loquacious.
That'll work.
You mother loquacious, you.
That's another way of saying it, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to be the Nick Bockwinkel of guest appearances on this show. I'll just come up with random words to replace the slurs.
Sure. Why not? But like I said, we've spent a lot of time talking.
Yep. And we need to wrap this up.
Yeah. And surprisingly, I told you, Taker, supposedly we need to talk about Raw and SmackDown, which was, okay. But suddenly we're here.
Really?
No, we don't need to, actually.
We talked a little bit about it.
I do, though, because considering the fact that I am also producing content for WWE in this sense of the word of this podcast, I have to. So
we have produced content for WWE this podcast. We know that the WWE spies do listen.
But yeah, like Taker said, we're almost out of time. So
so we need to start wrapping this up, guys.
Well, we need to start wrapping this up. Anything else you wanted to put out on the table? Unless wait. I do have one thing that I need to put out on the table. World Cup is coming in about 5 days.
Who cares?
Good.
Go. I'm not a big soccer fan. No,
there you go.
I will not use that I will not use football to describe it because football is NFL in my opinion.
Well,
yeah. Okay.
This is probably the only time of the year that I actually watch that mysterious alien sport known as football in the rest of the world, but soccer here in the U.S. I always try to watch the World Cup. I actually watched the last time and the time before when it was in South Africa.
Yeah.
It's the only time I've ever been interested in that dang sport, and the rest of it is just like alien gibberish to me. That and baseball.
Okay.
All right. So
I'm the only guy who's going to watch. Okay, fine.
I'm going to watch World Cup, I think.
Okay.
Mr. Fizz. Yeah. Where can the good folks find you?
Well, if you want to drag your pitchforks and torches along to stab me and or burn me to death, you can find me on Twitter at Fitzpatrick14, aka William Fitzpatrick, because I'm sure quite a few of you today want to do so. I currently do 2 podcasts at this point, Cage Side Speaks, which will be airing a Money in the Bank show at this point in the next couple of weeks, a week after the pay-per-view itself. And I also have Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling, which is currently on a semi-weekly schedule, although I haven't done a show in a month, but that probably is going to be changing relatively soon. Stay tuned for that. Anyway, thank you so much, folks. This has been a fantastic show to be on. I always love these debate shows because it's an intellectual conversation with several different people with our different thoughts, likes, and opinions. Whether or not you want to be tossing daggers in our general direction or not, that's completely up to you.
Mr. Biff, where can they find you?
Well, at present, I'm going to find me a pitchfork. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me on the.
He's going to be first in line chasing after Fizz. Fizz,
no, I don't chase after anybody. I got bad knee. I'm too slow and old. You can.
But wait, you're old at 31?
Well, if you knew what I've been through, yeah. Chronological age is not the same as actual age.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, just imagine that. Pretend that makes sense. You can find me on the Twitter at Real Deal Biff. That's DILL like the pickle. You can find me Sunday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern, for the Connoisseurs of Wrestling. Of course, we have a huge show coming up for you on Sunday. We've got a lot of content. There's some really exciting stuff. Not going to let the cat out of the bag yet, but let's just say that
we can let the cat out of the bag of what we're doing on there with the Hall of Fame induction for August. That we can let out.
Let's just put it this way. I think June, July, there's going to be known as the Summer of the Connoisseurs at Cage Side Seats. It's going to be a tremendous amount of fun. And Taker, I know we'll talk a little bit about it Sunday. And of course, we have the Hall of Fame balloting that's coming up on Monday. It's just a lot of content, so be on the lookout for that. Queen City Express is no more. Unfortunately, Ryan, my co-host, was not able to get his schedule worked out, and so I'm not exactly sure what the future is on my personal show. But we'll still be doing the Connoisseurs of Wrestling. So that's where you can find me now, and also Cage Side Seats, the nightly and the daily. You can generally find me there when I'm not hanging out with my soon-to-be fiance.
The bar is right over there. You can start walking there now.
Wow. Okay. Okay. You tell me to take a walk, I'll take a walk here, Poncho.
Where can they find you, Taker?
For your record, I made homemade margaritas yesterday. I don't have to go to the bar anymore. I got my bar right here.
All right. Where can they find you, Taker?
You can find me on Twitter at TakersMinion. You can also catch me here on Shootin' the Breeze every Saturday morning, plus at 11 Eastern. And on Sunday nights, you can catch me on Connoisseurs of Wrestling. Yes, I am the co-host with Biff Kensington, along with my lovely wife, Legends Lover. The three of us talk about the history of professional wrestling. And we talk because we got a lot of stuff coming out in the next couple of months that are really going to shake the world.
Let's just say that it's the Cage Side Speaks thing. I think it's the Cage Side Speaks version of history of wrestling for Connoisseurs of Wrestling.
Something like that. We are also, you can also find me in a daily and a nightly. I'm always there trying to play peacemaker with a lot of people.
He's the old sheriff in town.
Yes, right. And
that's just about it.
Where can they find you, Mr. Doctor Senju?
They can't find me nowhere because I haven't been on for a long time. Oh, poor me. Poor people. But again, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter. That is at Mr. Doctor Senju. That is MRDR Senju, SENJU. You can also catch me on the daily as well as the nightly. Yes, I have been absent for about a long time already, I think.
2.5 months, I think. Am I going to have to start summoning you again? Like I did before?
I think so. I think you'd have to start summoning me, yeah.
Okay.
But that's just about it. You can catch me there. Hopefully, I'll be there. If you want to email me, my email contact is also at Kidside Seat, so you can email me if you want. But you can catch me on Twitter. That's the quickest way to catch me there. Most of the time, I'm there. I'm just busy because I have things to do before the end of the month comes, and that's when I'm really going to be spotty with my appearance. So there's that. Of course, with all that plugs, we also have a lot more plugs to do.
Yeah, we gotta add one today, so I'm gonna get it out of the way right now.
Sure.
It's Roundhouse Wrestling. He's trying it again. Mr. Dennis Cow is trying it one more time. Saturdays, normally at 8 p.m. Eastern when he goes live. Give him a listen and see what you think.
Give him a chance.
Dennis, make sure your audio works this time, pal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
You got the rest of them? Because I can't remember all of them.
Sure. There's Stateside Seats affiliated podcast. We have Better Boys Club featuring Brent Brookhouse and Ethan Page. Not Your Demographic with Stunning Stella and Enigma Aaron. Keeping Up with the Kayfabe, Mark Riley, Jody May Esquire, and Jack King runs the show. And last but not least, Bros Before Elbows with Anthony, Farron, and Tommy. Then you have your unaffiliated podcasts which are either affiliated with the family of Los Ingobernables de Podcast or not affiliated with Los Ingobernables de Podcast at all. We have Two Guys, One Sport, Crazy Chris Colgan, George Jerkatsabes makes their comeback right after Dominion. Let's just see.
They were live last Thursday.
Yeah, they were live last Thursday. They made their comeback yesterday.
They're already back.
So,
day before yesterday.
Yeah, they're already back. They're already back, and I assume that they already watched Dominion, so I'm excited to share my thoughts with them as well. So then there's Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling with William Fitzpatrick right over there. We have Violent Wrestling Podcast with Empress Eileen, Prince Maxi Lopez. Of course, they're still on a hiatus. We don't know whether they're going to come back or not, but we're hoping that they're coming back. If not, we'll still plugging them until the day comes when they say that no, please don't plug us anymore. Match Fixing with Don Guzmano. You can find him at Cedar Breach Media. We have Wednesday Night Shootin' with Tanya Rogers and Andrew Swift. We have Ringside Geeks and For the Love of Wrestling. These shows are run by Miss Monroe and her boyfriend as well as their friends. Then we have the Ruthless Aggression podcast with Metal Matt. Again, a little bit. I think he's a little bit irregular at this time, right? But we're still plugging.
He's back on Fridays now.
Awesome. So we're gonna plug him still. And of course, I have to repeat it again. Connoisseurs of Wrestling, TakersMinion, Biff Kensington, and Legends Lover. And also we have to plug in MLW's radio, Something to Wrestle with Conrad Thompson and Bruce Pritchard, and What Happened When with Conrad Thompson and Tony Schiavone. And of course, lest before I forget, we also need to plug Something Else to Wrestle in WWE Network, featuring Conrad Thompson and Bruce Pritchard as well.
Yeah, so, their ECW show is available now on demand.
Yep.
So content needs to be done.
Yes. So after one really long-winded tirade of all the plugs and all the stuff that I have to say, I am now glad to say that this has been episode 47 of Shootin' the Breeze.
Grounds for Divorce was the topic title.
I have no fucking idea. I'm gonna pay the tip jar now. I have no fucking idea why I named that. The only reasoning being is that I listened to a song and I thought the title was good, and that's it.
That's fair enough. All right, ladies and gentlemen, episode 47 is in the books and done.
Yeah.
Make sure you pound the subscribe button, comment, get your friends to listen. The more the merrier.
Okay, before I wrap, be nice to each other. Make sure you smile. And for TakersMinion and for Biff and for Fizz, I'll see you. My name is MDS, and I'll see you next week.
Later, folks.
Bye.